We're gonna get crazy!
Most everyone's mad here.
It is time once again, folks. Welcome everybody to a very exciting episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. And by the way, happy Valentine's Day to you all. I hope you are having a wonderful and lovely day so far. I know I certainly am, and especially with this episode that we have coming up right now. And what we have here, I just need to say, this is going to be a big episode. So big, in fact, that we actually have a very special guest star right over here. This is actually someone who is just starting to go and produce his own videos, starting to make his own video essays. But if you guys are regular viewers of Double Toasted, then you may actually remember this guy often popping in on the podcast and talking with people like Corey and Martin from time to time. So without further ado, please welcome to AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, Christian Torres. Christian, what's up?
That was like such an amazing intro. I think I'm utterly undeserving of that, but thank you so much for having me, man. How are you?
I am doing pretty well, actually. I had quite a busy day, actually. Just need to go out and like do a few errands, but hey, at least I made it here on time, and hopefully we can actually get this show on the road.
Yeah, why wouldn't we be able to? What impediment? Is it like the you're going through like an Ottawa truckers thing right now in Canada? Not you specifically, because that's a totally different province, but you know what I mean, right? Like what would prevent us from getting this on the road?
I don't know if the police can actually do something about it, but even in Canada, the police are not really that competent. It's only just now did they get rid of the truckers from like the border. So yeah.
See, that's what's horrifying to me, because I always viewed Canada as a beautiful Narnia, like where everything is perfect all the time. This Ottawa protest thing has really destroyed my faith in your entire nation, Matt. What are you doing, man?
Well, the thing is that this is coming from a very vocal minority. You got to keep in mind that even amongst conservatives, like the majority of them do not approve of what's going on right now. So really, it's just nothing more but an annoying and vocal minority that shouldn't even be listened to in the first place. Like, it's just like the fact that it's still ongoing is just absolutely ridiculous, and it's honestly embarrassing as a Canadian.
Well, that's what I'm saying. See, that's because you're new to this. We have so much shame here in America that like we have scandal after scandal and we just let it roll off our backs. But you guys are so perfect usually that this is like a particular black eye. That's all.
Yeah, I suppose so. And before we do get this started, just want to have a bit of a quick mention, because this was a bit of a sad occurrence that happened last night, where unfortunately we did lose a Hollywood legend. Unfortunately, Ivan Reitman has passed away, which is very sad. And you probably know Ivan Reitman, the legendary director of movies such as Ghostbusters, and the producer of many other feature films as well. Like did you grow up with Ivan Reitman?
Yeah, I feel like everyone did by extension, right? Because I think like in the mid 2000s, you had like the Ben Stiller and Owen Wilson and Luke Wilson kind of group of people that took over making all those movies for a bit. But before that, there was Bill Murray and Harold Ramis and Ivan Reitman and all these people who kind of shaped comedy as we know it. And also, like, not to mention Jason Reitman, his kid, who was a really talented director, did the last Ghostbusters movie as well. And so, yeah, that's a legacy, man. That's a titan. I mean, they were planning on he had 2 movies in production, and it's one of those things where it's such an unexpected loss. It's terribly sad.
Yeah, unfortunately. But just want to have that quick mention, but we still got a whole bunch of other major news happening. So, Christian, I would like to go and ask you, are you prepared for today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast?
Utterly unprepared, but that will not deter me. I'm ready. Let's go, Matt.
All right, that is perfect. Chadwell, are you ready for today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast? Let me hear it, folks. Are you set and prepared? Let's see. Ready? Yes. Okay. That's great to see. That's great to hear. And with all that said and done, it is now time that we shall get things started. And with our first story that we got, it was pretty much inevitable. And this was one that a lot of movie fans are waiting for. And the big moment did finally arrive last week, and now the bets are on. So let's go into our first story as we talk about the Oscar nominations. Yes, the Academy of Motion Pictures and Sciences has revealed the brand new nominations that will be for the 94th Academy Awards. And so far, we got a whole bunch of big contenders. The biggest one so far being The Power of the Dog, getting 12 nominations, which is followed by Dune getting 10 nominations, and Belfast and West Side Story getting 7 nominations each. And we got a whole bunch of major contenders and a whole bunch of competitors for each of the different categories. Of course, for Best Picture, we got a massive list with 10 different movies in competition, with Belfast, Coda, Don't Look Up, Drive My Car, Dune, King Richard, Licorice Pizza, Nightmare Alley, The Power of the Dog, and West Side Story, all of which nominated, also nominated for many of the other categories. But since we are in AniMat's crazy cartoon cast, I would like to go and get a big highlight on the more visual aspect of the nominations, or the ones that are more animation oriented. So let's start off with the nominees for Best Visual Effects. We have Dune, Free Guy, No Time to Die, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, and Spider-Man No Way Home. Next up, we also got Best Animated Short Film, in which we have Affairs of the Art, Bestia, Box Ballet, Robin Robin, and The Windshield Wiper. And last but certainly not least, we also got Best Animated Feature, and the nominees for those are Encanto, Flea, Luca, The Mitchells vs. the Machines, and Raya and the Last Dragon. It is also worth noting that 2 of these animated features are also nominated for 2 extra nominations each, where Encanto is also nominated for Best Original Score and Best Original Song for Dos Oruguitas. And then we got Flea, which is making animation history, where not only is it the most Oscar-nominated independent animated feature, but it is also the second animated feature in history to be nominated for Best International Feature Film, the second only behind To Waltz with Bashir, and the first ever animated feature in history to be nominated for Best Documentary Feature. And not to mention, the first ever movie in history to be nominated for Best Animated Feature, Best International Feature, and Best Documentary Feature. So, Christian, what are your highlights for this Oscars?
I mean, I think it's a really strange year for the Oscars, right? I think, we're talking about, like, you're talking about this film that's making history precisely because it's blurring so many lines and stuff like that. I'm thinking about the Best Pictures nominations, and for the most part, these are like largely unseen by the populace, Like, I don't know how many people have seen Coda on Apple TV. I don't know how many people have seen Licorice Pizza, which is an independent film for the most part. It hasn't made a lot of money. And so for me, it's really great, but it feels like like almost a repudiation on a populist vote. Like, a lot of people wanted Spider-Man to be nominated for this.
Yes.
I don't know if I agree with that personally, but I understand why people wanted that to be nominated, because it's something that connected culturally, that everyone had something to say about. And I don't feel that way about any of these films, although I like almost all of the films that I've seen there, but none of them captured the public conversation,
Yeah, and I was just about to ask you that, considering that right after the nominations, we have seen some backlash from some notable celebrities like Seth Rogen, Jimmy Kimmel, and Kevin Smith, not just commenting about the fact that Spider-Man No Way Home should have been nominated, but also if people generally care about the Oscars in the first place, and also commenting on the low ratings that they have received. Are you more on their side in terms of their comments?
This is where it's weird, because I think the Oscars are best when it serves as like a museum for Hollywood, right? And so you want to keep the admission kind of high because you want to make it like prestige stuff, but at the same time, like 100 years from now, we're still going to be talking about what Marvel pulled off here, right? So if we're talking about the story of cinema, I know Martin Scorsese doesn't like that word, but if we're talking about the story of movies in general, right? At some point, we have to kind of recognize that these films are popular and they're mostly well made. But I think that there were a bunch of comic book films before this that probably deserved nominations that didn't get it. You know, like everyone looks at The Dark Knight as something that probably, if you wanted to say that had crossover appeal with comic book stuff and fandom and also critical acclaim, there were a lot of ways to do that. A lot of films that came before it. So I don't know, man. I'm really torn on it because personally, I don't think that Spider-Man was like a top 5 movie this year, but I also think it was really well made and it did what it wanted to do.
Yeah, that is true. And for me personally, I kind of find it a little bit funny of like how people are upset that No Way Home is not nominated, because speaking as an animation fan, this is obviously something that we've just seen again and again and again, where in terms of the type of feature films that we like, often get shafted from Best Picture. Because I kind of expected that No Way Home was not even nominated, because if Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse did not get nominated for Best Picture, what makes you think No Way Home would ever get a chance? And like even this year, we got some major contenders of animation that could have been good for Best Picture, such as Encanto or Mitchell's vs. the Machines or even Flea. How come those are not nominated for Best Picture as well? They could have been some legitimate contenders. It's just something like, as an animation fan, we've seen again and again and again of animation continuously being ignored by the Academy to not get nominated for any of the higher and more prestigious categories, including Best Picture. So
Sure,
it's something that for me, I feel like I'm kind of used to, and I'm starting to see the point of like what those celebrities are talking about, because it does feel like the Academy is going for that specific type of film to win Best Picture. It's almost as if like they're starting to feel a little bit of the same. And I'm not saying like the movies that do win Best Picture are bad, but like there is kind of this specific genre that they are going after.
Yeah, I get upset about it because you just mentioned something very interesting, that animation itself is faced with a bunch of discrimination, right? Like I thought Into the Spider-Verse is probably the best Spider-Man movie ever made. Like it's so wonderful and has all the mythos, but also like is a different, it's not Peter Parker. You know what I mean? It was just very inclusive and wonderful.
Oh yeah.
And that didn't garner a nomination. If I'm mistaken, like Beauty and the Beast did it in like 94 or 95. They got nominated for an actual Best Picture.
Yes.
I think Up with 2009 is when they expanded the category to 10 Oscars. So there was a little bit more room. That was like when you got District 9 also nominated. But generally speaking, if we have a shorter short list, like animation's always on the chopping block. Genre films are always on the chopping block. And that's not fair, because like Mitchell versus the Machines, oh my God, what a warm hug of a movie that I adored and wish that it would get nominated. But there is this weird bias against animation. I don't understand it.
I know it's something that we've seen time and time again. It's not just the Oscars. I would say like amongst plenty of other award shows as well. Like this is something we've also seen with the Golden Globes or the Critics' Choice Awards or plenty of the others, where animation in general would always get shafted on the side by these big name movies, where it's almost like they want to set a standard where animation is just put on the side, where they want to go and truly highlight stuff like Dune or West Side Story or The Power of the Dog and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't want to put Dune in that same category, because I feel like West Side Story is like a La La Land deliberate attempt to appeal to like old film Hollywood. Let's pat ourselves on the back, nominate us. You know what I mean? Where I feel like Dune is like people have called it an unfilmable novel, and granted, it's like half of a movie and not a full story, but I thought it really was an achievement. Like there was, and plus there's this other weird distinction that I think maybe you don't do as much, but I think a lot of like the populace does, which is visual effects is still animation. Like I think that we need to understand that all of these things that you like at this point, Spider-Man is like 60% animation. But, you know, we don't perceive it that way, because photorealism is what the goal is, as opposed to something like Encanto or any of the Pixar stuff, where it's like they're purposely trying to not do that uncanny valley, a Polar Express thing that Robert Zemeckis would do, you know?
Yeah, that is true. I remember like literally over a decade ago, like when they actually managed to get the technology right for realism with animation, rather it be with Rango or The Adventures of Tintin. That's a movie I adored. Like they managed to get it right, but then suddenly they just stopped doing it. In fact, I remember a decade ago when it was controversial to try to figure out where would they categorize Tintin? Would that actually count as an animated feature?
Sure. Yeah, that's interesting. But see, that's a little bit different because didn't Spielberg do the Robert Zemeckis like photo motion capture thing? That's different because you're taking actual live performance. I think like the thing that animation gets slept on all the time, like there's a sequence in the first Incredibles where you know he's like tied up and then she's on the plane and then they explode the plane or whatever, and there's like genuine voice acting that they didn't have the performance, you know, they didn't motion capture that. That's a collaboration of everyone working together to make something really, really amazing. Where Tintin or Polar Express or Beowulf or any of that almost deserves its own category. Think about like Andy Serkis, like his work on those Apes films, which I thought like, can we create a new award for this guy who's doing incredible work, but is never going to garner a Best Actor nomination, you know?
Yeah, that is true. And I mean, like, I could also debate for voice acting in general. That should also be something that should also be recognized as well, because there have been a lot of incredible voice acting performances, not just in animated films, but in plenty of other movies as well, where it's just the people providing the voice. And I think that should also be something that should be recognized as much as like Best Actor or Best Supporting Actor and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, but so do you feel, well, you have the Annies, you know, you have these like spaces that are carved out for recognizing that's why the Oscars never want to do that? Or do you legitimately want Oscar changes? Because I feel like as the industry keeps going, we need to adjust this stuff. We used to have awards for children only. We used to have like a bunch of different departments that no longer exist. And I feel like if the Oscars don't change, they're going to be left behind. That's why the ratings are dwindling.
Yeah, I think honestly it's a little bit of both. I mean, it's nice that we do have the Annies, but it is more of just this niche category. It's not something that the mainstream would really pay attention to. It's really just the animation community that pays attention to it and actually cares about it. But I still would like to see the Oscars and the award shows to actually have that major change where they are more inclusive to animation and do include those categories for motion capture performances, voice acting performances, and all that kind of stuff. I think it would, like, at least it would be a significance to show that the entire film industry would take visual effects and animation more seriously, and thus encouraging the mainstream to view that it is a medium that is worth taking seriously as well. So for me, I think it's a little bit of A and a little bit of B, where, yeah, it's nice that we do have that, but if we can get bigger attention from the bigger award shows like the Oscars or the Golden Globes, then it would actually help out with the reputation a lot more.
Yeah, I mean, that's the ultimate goal, I guess. I think that also, interestingly enough, like animation story, because animation is roughly as old as film, right? So it's not like there's this huge thing, but animation has gone through stages. You know, we used to do 2D hand-drawn stuff. We've really moved away from that. We're doing stuff that we didn't think was possible 30 years ago. And so I still think that it's still kind of infant in its form, and that's why maybe it's not as respected. But I do think that's where it's going to go. Let me ask you, what was your favorite animated film this year? Because you seem to like all of them, and you're very well studied on it.
Yeah, for me, my personal favorite would have to be Encanto. I feel like it's the one where it takes it takes like different elements from like many of the other movies that we've gotten this year, like Luca, Mitchell's, Raya, and all those films, and you kind of combine it into one to create this brand new Disney classic. That's the one that personally that I am rooting for. But going back to this year's Oscars for the best animated feature category, I will say this is going to be very tough to know who's going to be the winner. I feel like it's going to be a major clash between Mitchell's and Encanto, because on one hand, you got Mitchell's, which is so far the critics' favorite, where you see it winning like so many different like best animated feature categories for like the New York Critics' Choice Awards, the Boston Choice Awards, Seattle Choice Awards, or that kind of stuff. But then again, you also got Encanto, which on top of having additional nominations, it is also what is currently the most popular animated film right now, and the popularity is still massively strong, especially with the album and We Don't Talk About Bruno still at #1 in the charts. So I think that could also be a massive influence in terms of voting. But I will say, though, if there is one that I would love to see actually happen, I want to see Flea win. Like, that would be such an amazing underdog story where you see, like, people are butting heads between Mitchells or Encanto, but the winner is actually, like, the most unexpected one. Like, the independent animated feature that managed to break history and is breaking history again. That would be lovely to see.
Snuck in through the back door sort of thing when everyone was fighting with each other. I mean, that'd be great. I mean, it's weird because I feel like popularity doesn't really obviously it doesn't really play a role when it comes to best picture animation or nominations and stuff like that. But with animation, it does feel like there's always kind of a clear favorite going into the final days. And this is one of the few times where I'm like, oh, this is legitimately, like, I think a strong two-way race and then a possibility for a third one. So it's just interesting to me. If you did, like, maybe put money on it, I'd definitely say Encanto, but I'm split. I really love Mitchell, and I really hope that, I don't know, we'll see what happens. It's a good year for animation. That's the thing. That's a good problem to have.
Oh, absolutely. Like, we've had a pretty solid year, so it's going to be interesting to see who would ultimately be the winner on that. But there is one extra thing that I would like to comment about, and this is actually a bit of a snub, and that's actually in the Best Animated Short category. I'm a bit disappointed that we don't see either Us Again or 20-something be nominated. These are two animated films from Disney and Pixar. You could check them out on Disney Plus right now. They are very well made, and honestly, I'm disappointed that they're not nominated because they deserve the recognition, because you got Us Again, which presented a lot of amazing dance choreography, like on the levels of what we have seen with Encanto. And 20-something is already up there as one of my favorite Pixar shorts so far, because it's actually a really clever story about this girl who just turned 21, but she still feels like three kids in a trench coat. So, like, you see that literal presentation. But then again, like, I can't really complain too much because, number one, I have yet to see all the animated shorts. I haven't seen them all yet, and also it is nice to see Robin be nominated, because that's actually from Aardman Animation, and it's always nice to see Aardman getting, like, that kind of recognition.
I wonder if it's a matter of, like, you can only usually give one of your films an Oscar push, and so I just wonder if, like, because they were obviously Encanto's a feature length. It's not a short film, but I just wonder if that's the thing. Are there other nominations in the short that are either Pixar? Did they pick another film to present as an animated short, or no?
I don't think so. I mean, like, sometimes, like, they do that. Because, like, one thing I could say is that an argument to say that, like, could pretty much bury what you said to the ground would be the Best Animated Feature category, because three of them are literally from Disney. But in terms of Best Animated Short, I think, like, there might have been just a push for, like, a few of them. Not necessarily all that they have made, but, like, just a little bit at a time. I know that they tried to push Us Again, but I guess it just didn't necessarily make it.
Okay. Yeah. So I may be completely wrong about that. I thought, like, because one is Pixar and one's Disney, even though, yes, they're all owned by mothership Disney, that it's still a situation where they can say, oh, these are two separate, submissions, like production companies and stuff like that. So I'm just not sure, but I think that's what happens all the time. I mean, think about how many great films this year weren't nominated, whether it was animation or regular, live feature stuff. It's like, that's sort of the problem that we run with the Oscars. There's a legacy to it, and I think we really like that. But there's another part of it that I think this is what happens when we rank films arbitrarily, that so many great things don't get recognized.
Yeah, it kind of ends up becoming, like, the messy argument, and especially in this day and age on the internet, where, like, arguments are just constantly rampant and stuff like that. Like, there are going to be those people that are going to be desperate to try to use, like, that additional thing, like the Oscar nominations, to try to win their argument. It's kind of like for the same reasons why people bring up like the Rotten Tomatoes score. Like, I've seen this happen so much, and I keep rolling my eyes whenever I see it. Like, when people try to say, like, well, you're wrong because Rotten Tomatoes has this percentage on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not, I mean, that's what we've gotten really lazy, because we look at a number and we say, that's it. But, like, that's an average, It's really important to be able to, like, look at these things and then actually investigate the reviews, because we're not really having critical analysis anymore. And we're not even having, like, critical conversations anymore. Like, we're just referencing, well, it got nominated for this, but like Suicide Squad got nominated for an Oscar. All right. Not the good one that just came out. I'm talking about the original one from like 2016. So the Oscars are not indicative of quality. I'm sorry if there's Suicide Squad fans here. I'm really sorry. It's just not a good movie. But yeah, I agree. It's kind of a nonsense thing. And that's the risk we run when we do this kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And then there are some aspects where like it really does complicate things where like you got some that are not like in one movie, they could be nominated for the Oscars and they could be nominated for the Razzies. Case in point, this year's House of Gucci. Like there are several nominations. Like we've seen House of Gucci getting a few nominations here and there at the Oscars, but then again, you also got the Razzie nominations thanks to the performance of Jared Leto.
I mean, I think the greatest thespian of our time. I don't know what you're doing over there. That movie was a fever dream. But you've seen this film, or have you just seen the clip?
Yes, I have.
Okay,
oh
I didn't
my
know
god!
If you had spared yourself. It's like 2 hours and 35. It's way longer than it has any right to be. And it's insane. It's a lot of fun. I'm not hating on it, but like, it's like, what are we getting out of our art? If we're just trying to laugh and have a great time, I don't know if there's a more good time at the movies this year than that train wreck of a film. But how is that equal Oscar gold? I don't know. It's crazy to me.
It's just complicated, honestly. Although I will say that I'm still going to be curious to know how the show is going to be, because I know those things are going to be disastrous, but now I'm at the point where I want to watch them because they are disastrous. Just like last year's. Oh my God. Like it was hilarious to see like how that fumbled, especially with that ending where it's like the winner is Anthony Hopkins. Okay, bye.
Yeah. I think was that a response? No. So La La Land was a couple of years back. It's just interesting to me that the prestige show, the one that's supposed to be the example for all of them, has multiple blunders, and like the last 4 years only. It's kind of insane to me.
Oh yeah, and now I heard just today they actually just announced 3 new Oscar hosts. Like they got Amy Schumer, Wanda Sykes, and Regina King, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Well, Regina King is a national treasure, and she must be defended at all costs. So I love her. She's great. I don't know what we're doing in the Oscars anymore. It just seems like they realize that the idea of these shows is like rapidly kind of falling apart. Like it's not something that's going to last very long, especially because think about this, like the big schism. Remember, like Spielberg was super anti-Netflix, garnering nominations at the Oscars. And now we're at the point where like, not only has Netflix they've won a couple Oscars at this point, maybe not for Best Picture, but for different auxiliary categories. Yeah. But now like Apple TV has a nomination, like Coda, like, so we've crossed that Rubicon, and it feels like, the Oscars was something for an industry that was on celluloid. And as we move away from that, as we do more streaming and we have more stories being told from different places, it's going to get harder and harder to be relevant.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, and it's not to mention like the controversies that happened with the Golden Globes that really took a massive stab on just award shows in general and how we perceive them, with all of those controversies and just how they've handled it even this year with like having no show and like poorly handling like revealing the winners on social media. Like it really is at the point where like the our point of view of award shows in general have like really dwindled down, where their relevancy and their significance don't pack as much of a punch as before.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the Golden Globes never have. Like, I think that they're sort of like they're the redheaded stepchild of the award ceremonies, I think. But I think it's sad when you start seeing it happen to the so-called prestigious ones, right? Mm-hmm. Was the EGOT, right? Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, Tony, those things. So when those start to falter, then you're like, oh, that's not good. Like, I feel like the Tonys, no one watches the Tonys, but they're the ones that are most consistent, because Broadway is always going to Broadway. Like, it's just going to exist on stage. But there's not as much seismic change in that industry as there is in film.
Yeah, that is definitely true. But are you going to be watching the Oscars live, or are you just going to skip it?
Well, every year I say I'm not going to, and then I do. Like every year I'm just like, I'm over it. This is they never make the Best Picture, never actually wins Best Picture sort of thing. And then every year, like a punched puppy or something, I come back. So probably.
Yeah, I know I will. I want to see the next big disaster. I want to see the next big stupidity and the next big flub that'll happen.
But it seems like it happens every other year at this point. So yeah, you won't have to wait too long.
Oh, yeah. And if you are excited to see what's going to happen with the Oscars or who's going to be the big winner, keep in mind that it will be happening on March 27th. And with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, how do you feel about this year's Oscar nominations, and who do you feel should be the big winners on these? Not necessarily just for animated feature, but I would like to know if you have any extra opinions on like some of the other categories. Let me know what you all think on this. All right, let's see what we got here. In terms of what I think who should win this, it's honestly a real hard one. In terms of personal bias, Mitchell's, but realistically, it could either be Encanto or Flea, who knows. But as for the remaining nominations, Us Again, In the Heights, and The Suicide Squad were all robbed, and I'm surprised Dune got nominated for Best Picture. But I'm really glad it did. Hell, the Best Picture in this year is full of amazing movies. Oh, and Don't Look Up is also there.
I agree so hard with that sentiment, by the way, because I did not like that movie very much.
Yeah, and even like that also brings up another factor where there are also like other categories where like people feel like they got totally snubbed and like caused like its own brand of outrage, whether it be like Lady Gaga not getting Best Actress for Gucci, or even Denis Villeneuve not even getting Best Director.
Yeah. Denis the big one, and Frances McDormand for The Tragedy of Macbeth. Like Macbeth is a play that does not work unless you have an amazing Lady Macbeth. Like that really is the star of that. And she was incredible and did not get nominated. And that's so weird because it seems like every time she does a movie, she wins an Oscar. I think she's had like 3 or 4 nominations, three wins, I think. So I don't know, that some snubs out there for sure.
Oh yeah. Like we always talk about like the big snubs and the big wins and all that stuff. Or the big surprises, I mean. I'm quite happy to see The Mitchells vs. the Machines and Encanto got nominated for Best Animated Feature. The list of nominations they had for that category is pretty good, not gonna lie. If I can guess which movie will win at the Oscars, it would have to be Encanto because the huge impact it has right now with the songs, and that movie is the best that Disney has put up in years. Let's see what the final results when the Oscars come up very soon. Congrats to all getting nominated. Let's see another one here. I'm very happy that The Mitchells vs. the Machines got nominated for Best Animated Feature, and I hope it wins, as it is my favorite animated film and movie of 2021. I'm disappointed that Belle didn't get nominated due to the Academy's bias against animes in general, and I love that film, by the way. As for the others, happy to see others including Spider-Man got nominated for visuals, and Kristen Stewart got nominated for Best Actress, and Flea making history. Congrats to all those nominations. Let's see who else. I too am torn between Encanto and The Mitchells for the winner or of Best Animated Feature, but I do hope Lin-Manuel Miranda wins Best Original Song. Not because it's the only song for that category that I've heard of, and I've never had the time to listen to the other nominees, but it's because it would give Lin-Manuel Miranda an EGOT, just like Alan Menken. If not, oh well, there's always the next Oscars.
I have a feeling whether it's this one or not, like that guy's going to get it, you know, like he's like 41 years old. He seems like he just writes hit after hit after hit. I'm sure Lin will find another way to do it.
Oh yeah. Like if it's not now, eventually he's going to get it.
Totally.
Yeah. I mean, like he's been on a major role. I'll read one more comment before we jump into the next story. Let's see. I'm happy to see Sony Animation's The Mitchells vs. the Machines got nominated for Best Animated Feature. While the nominations are better than previous years, I'm disappointed that Mamoru Hosoda's Belle is not nominated. Despite being visually impressive, it was a mess story-wise, and this is maybe why it's not nominated. Speaking of the mess story-wise, no Boss Baby 2 nominated, thankfully. Probably referencing like that one Oscar where suddenly the Boss Baby got nominated with Ferdinand. Like out of nowhere.
What I'm saying. Oscar nominations are not always indicative of quality. Boss Baby proves it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, oh yeah, like if you think it's a big deal that the Oscars get that if Oscar nominations are a big deal, keep in mind like the Boss Baby and Shark Tale got a nomination, so that alone.
Shark Tale also had Martin Scorsese in it for no reason. Like they had talent attached to that movie. I don't understand what happened there.
Oh my God, it's a very interesting case. I will say that.
I'll have to do a deep dive on it. I'm excited.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's an interesting history for sure, especially like with the memes that has been garnished from that movie.
I always like it amazing. Like, so there's a lot of examples of bad movies, but then becoming like standard bearers for meme culture. And the one I think about is like Spider-Man 3. I think Spider-Man 3 is not a very good movie. However, the memes that have come from Spider-Man 3 have just kept giving and giving. It's the most generous film meme ever. And Shark Tale's sort of similar, which is like, it's not a movie that we like, yet we're still using these memes and we're still communicating that way, which is amazing.
Yeah, that or another one that I'm thinking of, The Cat in the Hat with Mike Myers.
Yeah, no, that's a great example. And what I'm saying is, at what point does that make a bad movie good? Because it's existed in our lexicon. Like, the worst thing in the world, I think, is to make a movie that's immediately forgotten. I don't know if you love Avatar, but like the first Avatar, the 2009 Avatar, here's my thing, whether you like it or not, it's not a thing that you would accuse it of having a lasting impact on pop culture. Like, no one's going around being like, I see you, we're not quoting lines from that movie the way we still do for Titanic or something, even though like that's also not a great movie. So I'm just saying, at some point, like, if your lasting impact is you're still being mentioned, even if it's just the memes, does that make you kind of a good movie? Kind of?
Yeah, that is a good question.
This is like, when does a hill become a mountain? That's all. That's basically the same thing.
All right, but anyways, let's move on to our next story. And what we got here is a brand new trailer. And this is one that, for me personally, is already up there as one of my most anticipated movies of the summer. For you, have you got any interest on this movie in particular?
I'm sorry, which movie? Say it one more time. I'm so sorry.
Well, we're going to watch the trailer of it, but it is going to be Lightyear.
Oh my God, yes. I'm so sorry. I am so excited about this film. In a way, let me just tell you, I was not originally. When they announced this, I thought this was a horrible idea, and I thought signaled the downfall of Pixar, and then I kind of really love this trailer. So yeah, it's amazing.
It's like, dang it, they won me over.
Every time. Again, I'm a punched puppy, Matt.
All right, but with that said, let's go ahead and actually check out this trailer. So let's take a moment and see what Pixar has more in store with Lightyear. While it's loading, it needs a bit of time.
Be patient.
Yeah, normally
it's going to space, Matt.
Yeah, that is true. Maybe a bit of a reload just to help it out. Normally it doesn't like spend this much time on loading. I don't know. Oh, okay, there we go. Okay, now we can do a redo. Hopefully it can recognize. Then again, I am using a lot of power. I'm streaming. I got Skype on. So.
Yeah, I was wondering, because there's a little bit of a lag, it says, and I just wonder if it's just like a CPU thing.
No, admittedly, it's my... Oh, there we go. Okay, we got the trailer on, folks.
A year of work for a 4-minute flight. Isn't that something?
We're all ready if you are, sir.
Well, let's go find out if this...
We got a breach in the perimeter.
Thank you. Buzz Lightyear mission log. After a full year of being marooned on this planet, our first test flight is a go. Let's get everyone home.
Good luck, Captain. We're all counting on you!
Roger that.
There's a star waiting in the sky.
Hello, Buzz. I am Socks, your personal companion robot.
We'd like to come and
We're being pursued by just a massive robot.
That was utterly terrifying, and I regret having joined you. Buzz!
Lightyear!
Let all the children do
I can provide sleep sounds if you like. I have several options. Summer night, ocean paradise, whale calls.
No. White noise is fine.
Very well.
Good night, Socks.
Good night, Buzz.
And that is Lightyear, which will be coming out on the big screen on June 17th, 2022. At least if things are going okay with the pandemic. So Christian, how do you feel about what we just saw with this new trailer?
I feel like it's a cheat sheet. If you want to get to my heart, just play a David Bowie song. And I love that cover of that David Bowie song specifically. Like I said, when they first announced it, I think there was just general confusion about what the project was going to be. That's how I felt about it. And I didn't think it was a good idea because what I love about Pixar is usually when they go and they make these original kind of brilliant things and they don't lean so much on their sequels, you know, like we want more like Ups and Inside Outs and Souls and not Cars 2 and 3 sort of thing. But then they've showed me this and it just seems very radically different in tone. It seems epic in scope, like generally like well shot too. I mean, like we're talking about this thing where we're blurring the lines between like animation and stuff. So photorealistic compared to what we know Buzz from in the Toy Story stuff and like incredibly well directed. So yeah, I'm going to eat all my words, man. I'm so excited about this film. It looks wonderful.
Oh, absolutely. The same with me, actually. Like, I do get a bit of the confusion and like people feeling a little bit tired after like we just went through like 4 Toy Stories, right. And like a lot of people are just feeling a bit tired of seeing, especially from Pixar, just sequel after sequel after sequel. And we know that they are at their best when they are making original content. And then when we saw Lightyear and then showing us what it's all about, okay, now they've shown us like what, like why we need this, especially like now thinking about this concept, it's actually really genius because this is supposed to be the movie that in the Toy Story universe, that Buzz Lightyear is actually based on.
Right. Yeah. I mean, people are already talking about they want there to be a post-credit scene where you see like a young Andy walking out of the theater, like all inspired by it and stuff like that. And that would be like really pretty. I mean, the biggest thing I think is it's justified its own existence. Like it does seem like a great Pixar film does. It's taking us to another place. Like this isn't the Buzz Lightyear. This is not your grandfather's Buzz Lightyear, as they would say. And that's a good thing. Like we're going to strange new worlds. And every time they do this, they nail it. So I don't know why I ever bet against Pixar. I mean, because, you know, they're kind of perfect most of the time with a few notable exceptions. And I should stop betting against them because they're amazing.
Oh, yeah. No, it like they always supply these great surprises. And especially with this one, they've already proven that they could nail reality so beautifully. And I think like one of the recent examples that they have done so where like, you know, that they could do reality so well is with Soul. Like every time you go into New York City and you go into when you walk around the streets and see like the community working together, like that's when they really nailed that realism. And especially when you do look at just the character animation or what they would do and stuff like that. Like for me, I don't look at this and I think of the other Toy Story films. I think about like recent sci-fi films that we have gotten, like The Martian or Gravity and stuff like that. And like you could tell that there is a bit of that homage of like those different elements, even though like you have a little bit of that familiarity. In a way, this is like the closest that an animated film has done in terms of producing like a live action remake. Like,
yeah, totally. And I would just like to speak to your Soul point, and then I'll come back to the Lightyear thing. It's like I'm from Brooklyn, like I'm a New Yorker, and like that's one of the first times I've ever seen the rhythms of that city actually put together. And it's like it's all fake, it's all animated, man, but it felt so real because there's that attention to detail. Likewise, I think Lightyear it's you know, I think it's dipped in a lot of reverence to great sci-fi films and interesting stuff, but it's also doing it in such a photorealistic way that but while simultaneously not being Uncanny Valley. I don't know how you do that, but they are pulling it off. And that's what's so exciting about that is like, I was ready to bury Pixar a couple of years ago. Now they're making stuff that has me like excited about the next 20, 30 years of stuff that they're going to be able to do as the technology gets there.
Oh, absolutely. Like it shows that we have made it to a brand new age of Pixar, and that like the Pixar that we used, you know, that we all knew from like from like the 2000s and even the 1990s, like they are back in full form. like having Pete Docter as the chief creative officer is like one of the best decisions that they have done, because like now we see the payback on it and shows how like creativity and originality is back to rule as the primary king. And even though that this is technically like a Toy Story spin-off, like it still stands as its own original thing. And that's honestly something very difficult for a spin-off in general to go and accomplish. So that already it has gathered points. And speaking of the familiar aspects, how do you feel when you first saw Zurg?
I was kind of crazy. I'm going to be real with you, because I wasn't like really prepared for it because I didn't know what we were seeing, you know? But it's one of those things where like, it looked better than I could have expected in this kind of format and this kind of like animation style, and also formidable. I just really interesting, like really, really interesting stuff, man.
Yeah, and that's also something that I do admire from this trailer, or like from the Lightyear trailers that we've had so far, is that yeah, we've had small elements that are familiar, like Buzz and Zurg. And some people have even pointed out that in the teaser trailer from what we had before, like the whole like spaceship, not the spaceship itself, but we've also seen like the space station is reminiscent to Space Mountain. And like a few other small, cool. And we've had a few other like references here and there. But I'm so happy that we don't really have a whole lot. Like they're just giving us small information, and yet like we don't even know what the full story is. We don't even know what the plot is going to be about. We just know that this is going to be like the origin story of the real Buzz Lightyear.
Yeah. So which makes it this beautiful mystery, I think, because they can literally do anything they want. You know, like they're not really hand tied to the previous canon. The thing that gets me most excited is you brought up Pete Docter, and people who know me know that Pete Docter is like by far my favorite Pixar writer director. I just think he's the one who like leads with the emotions first. I think Up is just wonderful. I think Inside Out, obviously it's about emotions, right?
Yeah.
And Soul, which didn't even feel like a kid's film, you know, it felt like it was just it was for the people who grew up watching like Toy Story and A Bug's Life, like who are adults now sort of thing. And I just think that whatever they end up doing with it, I know that it's going to be front facing with like actual themes and emotion. So it's like it's great they're giving us all this like kind of lore and small doses of fan service, and they've kept the plot under wraps, because I think that's just going to make it even more of like a great engaging experience whenever it comes out.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's the one thing that really does make me excited for this. It's like, yeah, we got a little bit of the fanfare here and there, but there's still way too much that we don't know about. And that's why for me, I feel like this is a great trailer right now, because the stuff that they are giving us, it is getting us pumped up. It's getting us excited and curious. And I don't know how this is going to be. And also, Christian, I want to know your opinion on this, because this is something that I've been asking people from time to time, considering that we do have 2 Pixar films coming soon, not just Lightyear, but also Turning Red. Is there one that you're more excited for than the other?
I mean, like, it's going to sound counterintuitive because I am so happy that Lightyear looks this good, but Turning Red does seem like a personal project, and it's like an original kind of thing. So in that regard, I think I'm more excited about that, because it's something I have no idea what I'm going to see. Where Lightyear, while I'm sure it's going to be awesome, does seem like it's going to be steeped into a lot of familiar genre tropes and stuff. And I expect them to do it amazing and probably better than most of those tropes are, but it's still something I've kind of seen before, where Turning Red isn't. So I think I'm a little bit more excited about that. I don't think anyone's going to agree with me, but that's me.
You would be surprised, because there are some people that I've seen, they've mentioned that they're more excited for Turning Red. So really? It's honestly, it's a mix of both.
It makes me sad, because I really feel like Turning Red deserves a theatrical thing. I know there was a big kind of dust up about that, and the creators were a bit dismayed at it. But also it's like, you know, Soul wasn't lessened at all by being on Disney Plus. You know, it was still recognized, and it was still incredibly well. It was super, you know, viewed by everybody. So I hope it gets the audience. I just don't think it'll have the same cultural impact as a theatrical Lightyear movie that's going to come out in the middle of summer, you know?
I don't know. Because the thing is, you got to keep in mind that the big reason why Encanto is so big right now is because it was released on Disney Plus.
That's true.
During the time, it was released a month earlier in November, and it got a bit of attention here and there. A few people were talking about it, but then suddenly it got released on Disney Plus, and suddenly it exploded. That's when it became the phenomenon that we actually know today. So I do feel like maybe Turning Red could actually benefit from actually appearing on Disney Plus instead of being on the big screen.
I hope so. I mean, that's the thing. We're still in that paradigm shift. We don't know. 10 years ago, not even 10 years ago, 5 years ago, if you made something that went direct to video or direct to DVD or home media or whatever, it was considered a failure. You were considered at a low point in your career. And we have totally changed that in such a small amount of time where things are successful by being on home. We also know that's not always the case, right? Like the Wonder Woman 1984 kind of hybrid thing didn't work. Matrix didn't work. It doesn't always help you to be out on streaming, but it does seem like Disney is always able to cultivate that hype for its movies and its TV shows.
They got their own brand that they know how to manage, and they can make it a big deal regardless if it's on Disney Plus or if they can put it out on the big screen. So at least they know that balance. Warner Brothers, well, they've always been in recent years, they've been very messy as a studio. So I think it's
they're just a legacy studio. They're just fat and lazy. They don't care anymore. You know what I'm saying? It's weird to me. Where Disney, you think would be the same way. As much as I talk trash about Disney as our corporate overlords, what I will also say is that they do seem to realize that they have brands that they have to make somewhat quality products out of, because they are so big at now that you feel like they could just phone in all of these movies. They could phone in Pixar films. They could phone in Marvel films if they wanted to, Star Wars films. Some say they already have done that. But it's one of those things where they at least they keep trying to make quality products, where there's actual good creative teams in place. And I don't know, good for them. They could be a lot lazier and get the same amount of money, I'm sure. That
is true. They are creatively admirable. I'm not saying the Walt Disney Company is admirable in general, but in their creative approach, it is somewhat admirable.
I agree. They're definitely better than Warner Brothers. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Well, better than most other companies, I would say. It's hard to even compare who could be on par or better than what Disney is doing, to be fair.
Right. They're ruthlessly efficient. My favorite thing about that Solo movie, they did the Star Wars Solo movie, is that they almost make a case for the Empire, because it's all the things that aren't under Empire control are like crime riddled cities and stuff like that. It's a seedy underworld. And that's sort of what Disney's doing. It's look, yeah, someone's got to be the evil corporate overlord, but we're just better at doing it. And we're going to give you good movies while we do it. You can't trust Warner Brothers to do that.
Yeah, that is a good point. And what we are getting right now with Lightyear as well, already is becoming one of the most hyped up animated movies in general of this year. And I'm definitely a part of the hype. I'm definitely excited to see this. And I honestly, and I am at the point where I don't care if it's either going to be on the big screen or on Disney Plus. I just want to see it, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of similar at this point. I think we're all starved for really, really good quality, especially by people that we trust to deliver that quality to us.
And just out of curiosity, if there is that chance that Disney would announce that Lightyear would end up appearing on Disney Plus due to COVID reasons, would you be disappointed, or would you be fine either way?
I think I would personally be fine either way, but that's also because I got a giant TV. It's negligible for me in terms of the theater experience sort of thing. But at any point, if I'm given the option, I would rather go see something on a big screen. You have a relationship. When you walk into a theater, if you're a good moviegoer, you're not on your phone the whole time. You're engaged in this thing that's on screen. You're doing that with people around you. At home, I get a text message or my dogs bark or something, and it just takes you out of it a little bit. So I don't think it's going to make me like the film any less. But I think in terms of being transported to new worlds like the filmmakers intended, it's always better to go to the movie theaters.
Yeah, that is true. And sometimes it may be the case because with animated films, it depends on the audience that you may have. Because
absolutely, yeah. You have to talk about audience. I didn't even think about that, which is there's going to be distractions kind of no matter what if you go to an animated film, depending on what time you go.
Yeah, it's going to be, I remember when I went to go see Sing 2, it's hard to be pretty immersive when you got screaming kids around and parents who have to explain every scene that happens.
Right. So you know what I think is really interesting about this? This is like tangentially related, because I think that there's this weird stigma about older people liking animation. Like it's not a completely valid form of entertainment and stuff like that, because so much of it is leaning towards kids. I think that's why we really revere Pixar, because they figured it out. Like they can make kid movies that are also high quality, like thinking films for adults.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I just feel like, we don't really put that into perspective enough is sort of my problem with it, but I don't know.
It's still like something that animation has a long way to go in order to achieve.
Yeah, well, I mean, I once went to the Muppets Most Wanted, not animated, but obviously the Muppets are like
Muppets.
kid-friendly sort of thing. And so I'm there, and like there's just a bunch of kids screaming, and I was upset about it, and I had to realize, like, no, I'm the weird one. Like I'm the at the time, like 24-year-old self who was like insisting on going to a kids movie sort of thing. So it's like, yeah, in terms of immersive, it's always a crapshoot, man.
That is true, but we'll see what happens with Lightyear again when it comes out on June 27th. Is it 27th, I believe? Yeah, on June 17th, 2022. So with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, how do you all feel about the trailer that we have seen of Lightyear? Are you guys excited about it? Are you guys a little iffy about it? Let me know what you think in the chat wall now. Let's see. Now, this is one of the only movies I'm willing to see this year. The animation is fantastic. The pacing is well timed from what I've seen so far, and I'm already seeing some minor setbacks. Mainly the cat robot pet. Isn't that thing a bit uncanny? Doesn't it give you some FNAF or iRobot vibes? In short, it's going to look great, but the humor won't land as smoothly as it feels. P.S. Only saw you on okay, anyways. Oh yeah, the cat thing. How do you feel about the cat?
I mean, it didn't really bother me in that trailer. I mean, maybe it will, like, upon me having to spend 90 minutes with it over the course of a film, but it seemed fine to me. What I would be more upset about is it feels like the kind of thing that, like, got added in like the third version of that story. They're like, he needs a cute cat sidekick or something, kid. That's my only problem with it. But it didn't seem weird to me. Did it look weird to you?
I mean, there are, like, the cat in the trailer was like a bit of a hit and miss. There are a few parts that I did find funny, but then, like, there are times when it's just meh. But then again, I would say that my feelings towards the cat was a bit of the same way as I felt about 22 in Soul. Like, she wasn't all that great in the trailers, but when you saw the movie, oh my god, she was of the
emotional core of the film. Yeah, like you kind of need that person. Yeah,
exactly. So I think, like, considering that there's still a lot more surprises to see in Lightyear, there's probably a lot more surprises that we're going to see with that cat.
Again, we're all in agreement, right? Like, we're all on Team Pixar here. Like, they've earned the goodwill to be like, even if I was underwhelmed by a trailer, I assume they're going to get it together by the time the film comes out.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Let's see. This new Lightyear trailer still looked pretty cool so far, and Chris Evans sounded really good as Buzz Lightyear. Everything looking good so far in terms of animation and voice acting, but I really hope the story is good since we don't know all that much of what the plot really is about, so I hope it doesn't disappoint. If it goes to Disney Plus instead of theaters, if the pandemic is not under control, then I wouldn't mind just as long as I see it. All right. I don't think they can make a Tim Allen spaceman look badass, but here we are. The tone it sets gives off a very 1980s space epic vibe. Chris Evans legit kind of sounds like Tim Allen at some point, and good god, that animation. This will be a must-watch for me. Also, this has nothing to do with the movie, but is the podcast lagging for anyone else, or is it just me? Yes, okay. I just want to let you know, yes, I understand that if you're watching this live on Twitch, it is lagging right now because, well, my computer is very hard at work because I'm simultaneously streaming. I'm showing you all these different new stuff. I'm using my mic, I'm using my camera, and on top of that, we also got Christian here. So there's a lot that is simultaneously going on, and it's really pushing my computer to the limit. So I do apologize for the continuous lag that you are seeing, but I'm still doing my best to put on a show. So again, I apologize if the lagging lagging, is giving you, it is like intruding your viewing experience, but I'm just doing what I can here. Anyways, what else we got? I don't know if it's just me, but this movie kind of feels like one of those darker versions of a show or a movie that is actually good, like season 3 of Reboot. Besides that, this trailer has me pumped. The visuals are beyond spectacular, the callbacks are really cool, the story shown so far seems quite interesting, and I just love Sox's personality and design. I am really excited for this, and certainly a must-watch for me. All right. What else?
That was a great Reboot season 3 reference, by the way, which is clearly like the darkest timeline of Reboot, but it's so good. Like, I really love that season.
Oh my god, it's been so long since I've seen Reboot.
Right, isn't he like, so they do a time jump, right? He's like Matrix now. He's just like a bounty hunter or something. Like, it's so amazing, that final season of Reboot. It goes places, man.
Oh my god, yeah. I need to rewatch that. I really
Is that
do.
somewhere? Is that on Disney Plus or something?
I don't know, actually. I really don't know where to find it.
All right, that's my one mission after this stream, is to find Reboot at all costs.
Yeah. I'll like, even for me, I don't know where I could find it. Well, but maybe I'll find a way. Anyways, I'll read 2 more until we jump into the next story. This trailer has my blood pumped a lot faster. The animation is quite stunning. The action scenes are epic. Sox looks like a comedic character who has similar personalities to Baymax, and Zurg looks pretty good, but did they really have to add him legs? And not only that, Taika Waititi voicing as Morrison, the dude with glasses who just got pulled away from the plant monster. I would totally go see this, but I'm also worried that it might get pulled away from theaters and moving to Disney+. Well, you never know. It depends on how the pandemic is. As long as like things are stable and good, then we might have a chance to have that on the big screen. Let's see. Who do we have? Okay. And admittedly, Chris Evans as Buzz sounds more like Patrick Warburton's Buzz, more so than Tim Allen's Buzz. I wonder if they do cameo of either Warburton and or Allen in this film as a nice nod. Though I will say, don't expect too many references of Buzz Lightyear or Star Command in that, because I heard Pixar is not a big fan of the show. But nevertheless, I will not stop until I see this movie, to infinity and beyond. Yeah, I mean, I think they've already established this is going to be its own, like, reboot. I think this is going to be its own, like, origin story instead of being, like, the same thing that we saw in the Star Command cartoon.
Yeah, I mean, but that also makes sense creatively, right? Because now you can do anything you want. Your sandbox is open to any interpretation. So I would do the same thing, whether they're huge fans or not. I mean, I think there's something about kind of resetting the canon and allowing yourself to do whatever you want while preserving what was great about the other canon.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think you made a good point there. All right, so with that said, let's go and jump onto the next story. And what we got here, this pretty much proves that sometimes... there are things that when it's canceled, it's for the best. Like if it's not going to happen, like maybe we should leave it that way, because this is a project that for me, the more I think about it, the more I feel like this is a terrible, terrible idea. And what I'm talking about is regarding the Beauty and the Beast prequel series. Yes, it has been confirmed that the planned prequel series to the 2017 live-action remake of Beauty and the Beast is no longer going to be happening. And the reason why is because of not only they are behind on schedule, but also because they don't necessarily have things in order. So reading from my source here on Deadline, it actually states here, according to sources, the call not to proceed with the show was made for creative reasons, with the script and original music not coming together in the direction expected or running behind schedule. With a number of creative elements in the air and the shoot start already pushed from early spring to summer, a decision was made to put the project on hold. Pushing filming further into the fall was not an option because of talent availability and weather concerns. We also got some confirmation from one of the showrunners and the man who plays LeFou, Josh Gad, as he states, "Sadly, 'tis true. We tried to make it all work, but under the gun, it wasn't meant to be. For now, these characters and this story will live on, but sometimes the best intentions and reality collide and nothing can be done." And for those of you who don't know, this is actually this is a prequel series to the live action remake of Beauty and the Beast. And this was actually thought up by not just Josh Gad, but also the creators of Once Upon a Time, Edward Kitsis and Adam Horowitz, in which the plot is said here, set in the iconic kingdom of Beauty and the Beast years before Beast and Belle's epic romance. The series follows Gaston and LeFou as they set off with LeFou's stepsister Tilly, played by Brianna Middleton, after a surprising revelation from her past comes to life, sending the unlikely trio off on an unexpected journey filled with romance, comedy, and adventure. While the mysteries of the past are uncovered and the dangers of the present grows, old friends and new enemies reveal that this familiar kingdom harbors many secrets. So, just out of curiosity, Christian, are you a fan of the Beauty and the Beast live action remake?
Nah. So here's the thing. All right. So the first time I ever felt old in my life was when these remakes started happening, the live action remakes. Actually, because I kind of like the Jungle Book one a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, oh, that was cool. Right on. Jungle Book, Jon Favreau, go for it. And then I really didn't like the Cinderella one, and I really didn't like Beauty and the Beast. Like, Beauty and the Beast was way worse than Cinderella or any of the other examples that I could give you. But like, again, we just mentioned earlier, Beauty and the Beast, that animated one, was one of like the first films, or the first film in a very long time anyway, to be nominated for Best Picture.
No,
like,
it's the first one, period, actually.
Yeah, it was first. Okay. Transcended. It crossed genres and stuff. Like, it did things that no other kind of film could do. And I think that live action, well, I don't think anyone made it with malicious intent, but I just think it like was really profoundly misguided and wasn't a good film and didn't really live up to the legacy of that. It doesn't mean that people weren't good in the movie. It just means that movie was kind of a mistake to me. So in a weird way, I was actually more excited about this, even though I think it's a bad idea, but just because it would have been an original story that, again, doesn't really infringe on what's going on with Beauty and the Beast. And that was interesting to me. But like you said, probably for the best. Like, good riddance. Like, why would we go further down that rabbit hole?
Yeah, and I'll say right now, I am not a fan of the Beauty and the Beast live action remake. I do find it to be one of the weaker ones, and I will give it that there are a few things that I did enjoy. Like, actually, like, Luke Evans is probably the best actor in there, and also, like, there are a few songs, like their versions of the songs actually do come out pretty well, like the Gaston song or Be Our Guest. But other than that, like, a lot of it was just embarrassing. Like, the visual effects were awful, and well, Emma Watson was pretty much self-explanatory with her performance and her singing especially. But like, seeing this and seeing that they wanted to do this this like prequel series, or like really expand upon that Beauty and the Beast lore that they've put on. Like, at first I thought, okay, well, at least it would be a different idea that they would do like this adventure with Gaston and LeFou and stuff like that. Right. But then I realized, no, this is dreadful. Like, why would you even want to do this? And especially with the fact that we have this, we would have had this series that is all about presenting Gaston as the hero.
Right.
Like, that's where I find to be very messed up, because the whole point of Gaston is to be the personification of toxic masculinity. Like every aspect of like what makes a man a quote unquote man is proven to be a bad thing with the personality of Gaston, where like he's very self-centered. He views women as trophies. And this guy, like, he would get triggered and massively upset if he's been said no. So like, literally, Gaston is one of the true defining Disney villains, where you kind of take the super like macho man trope and you flip it upside down to be viewed as the bad guy. And then you got this series right over here where they're like, not only are they trying to normalize Gaston, but try to romanticize Gaston. That is where that's something where I personally feel like it kind of irks me a little bit, where like, no, not really. I don't really want a series where I want to actually unironically root for Gaston. Like, right. Even if it is the live action remake, and I know that technically, like, in that version, they tried to give him a bit more of a a bit of a background where he's actually like this war veteran with PTSD, but still though, like it is still the same Gaston. And I mean, like the live action remake of Beauty and the Beast is pretty much like almost beat on beat the same movie that we got back in 1991. So from there, it is the same villainous Gaston that we've had before. And I don't know if I truly want to have a series where I would be rooting for Gaston and LeFou. I don't know like how they would try to make that work.
Well, it's interesting because I feel like they've proven it already. I mean, they made a Joker movie where they kind of made him sympathetic, which I think kind of changes the character. They did Cruella, which was another example. Like, it doesn't matter how Cruella started. Like, she ends up being someone who's trying to kill a bunch of dogs. Like, I don't care if I understand her fatal flaw. I think Gaston similarly, as I understand why they're doing it, why they think that the you can prove that concept and do it with all these characters, but I don't think it's a good idea for all the reasons you're saying, which is purposefully a send up of this idea of like gender constructs and stuff. And it's meant to be like, oh, he's the fool, let's point and laugh at him. But if you make him sympathetic, it changes that character completely. And I think it's probably for the best that they didn't end up going forward with this.
Yeah, and I do get what you mean, especially like with Cruella. I find that movie to actually be okay, and like how they transformed Cruella was not that bad. But here's my problem with it. The thing is that with Gaston, like they've already have Gaston established in the live action remake, like, and like I said, they barely changed him at all from how he was in the animated film. So I think like we're already at the point where it's kind of too late to try to like adjust the character to try to have him be a bit more sympathetic or stuff like that, because like regardless of what happens in the prequel, ultimately he would become that villain that we would see in the movie.
Yeah, but so like here's an example, you know, like Breaking Bad, right? There's a Better Call Saul, right?
Oh, yeah,
that spin-off show, which is essentially doing the exact same thing. Like we know where this ends up for this character, and he's kind of morally bankrupt and despicable. However, that doesn't stop us from like watching the tragedy. Like they could do a Gaston prequel and they have to make it a tragedy in as much that like he was a good person or something and he chooses, I guess, to shield himself or whatever, but he chooses to be a bad person. So like you see him be sympathetic, and when the reason that's so sad is because we know where he ends up, sort of thing. Like it's possible to do those stories. I just don't think that they had any intention of doing that proper. You know what I mean? Like he still ends up as Gaston in Beauty and the Beast, which is not a good guy.
Okay, fair point. Okay, you got
a little bit, right? There we go. We'll play tennis here on our logic. I'm ready. Let's go.
That's true. That's true. I didn't think about Better Call Saul. That is actually a good point. Okay, so maybe that there is like a way that you can, but still though, like we are like I guess like ultimately it's the fact that we would get more of the live action Beauty and the Beast. I guess that's the big thing that a lot of people are very much put off by. And yeah, like
if it would double down on that, then why would you be encouraged to think it's going to be any better than that?
Exactly. Like, you know, it's made for the fan base of that specific Beauty and the Beast. It's not going to be like the same Beauty and the Beast that we got with the animated film. It's just like to expand upon the live action remake that we already have gotten. So already the standards would feel kind of low, and like, and on top of that, like you would also have to deal with with more Josh Gad as LeFou, where like a lot of people just see it's just,
I wouldn't do that to my worst enemies, Matt.
Yeah. Like, I mean, like, especially on Disney Plus, it's enough that they keep continuously pushing Olaf content. Like, do we need more? Like, do we need more Olaf on Beauty and the Beast?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you said it. Someone had to. Someone had to be that martyr for all of us.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't mind the Olaf content, but I like, even for me, as someone who actually does like the Frozen movies, I'm like, you know, there are more things that you can do with the Frozen franchise, right? You don't have to just keep regurgitating Olaf again and again and again.
You know what's interesting to me is like we were talking earlier about the sequelification. That's not a word, Christian. Okay, but the sequelizing of like properties as it pertains to Pixar. And I feel like we don't have the same standard for like Disney films in the same way, because Frozen's Disney animation, right? I'm not messing that up. Okay. So it's like they made a sequel sort of kind of compared to like the gap between The Incredibles and The Incredibles 2, for instance. You know what I mean? Like they kind of got that Frozen sequel out pretty quickly. Are there like supposedly they're kind of making a third one? I mean, it's not in active production, but they're like pondering it. Isn't that what the company line is?
Nah, I don't think so.
They're just done with Frozen. It was like a phenomenon, and you're telling me Disney's not going to milk that as long as they possibly can?
Well, it's kind of honestly, I don't think they're going to be making a Frozen 3, and the reason why is because like the whole reason why we've seen so many sequels from like both Disney and Pixar, it was because it was under John Lasseter. Like he was the one that really wanted to push like all these sequels from like both of these companies, and it was only like in the late 2010s that they started to make more sequels with Ralph Breaks the Internet and then Frozen 2, and then afterwards that's when we start to see like this massive shift, and then like they went back to making more original content with Raya and the Last Dragon and Encanto, and then coming soon with Strange World. So I don't know, considering that we are under a new leadership, I don't know if that means like we will see a legitimate Frozen sequel happen again. So I don't know. I think like they might just want to stick more to just original content, and that's it. I mean, it's been working extremely well with Pixar, and especially with Disney now that like their next big hit is another original an original content.
Yeah.
I think for now, like they have moved on from Frozen and will try to play with something else, especially that like I think there would be a bigger chance that there would be an Encanto 2 before a Frozen 3.
I mean, I think that seems likely is kind of what I'm saying, just based on whenever anything is a cultural zeitgeist, Disney seems a little bit more willing to make a sequel at a quicker turnaround. So I think Encanto being what it is right now, which is like blowing up everywhere, it's likely that they might do that. But I think that would cheapen it. That'd be like making a Coco 2, which like would make absolutely no sense to me. So I hope not.
I think, honestly, for me, I think it would make a lot more sense if they make an Encanto TV series, considering that Disney is starting to go in that direction of actually producing animated shows for Disney Plus. Like, they got a full-on Moana series coming soon. They got a Tiana series coming soon. Sure. I think Encanto would be a perfect fit to turn that into an animated series so that they could play more with the different characters from the movie.
Right, that'd be cool. I mean, they're doing that on the Pixar counterpoint, right? Because they have like Monsters at Work, and they're not afraid to then kind of give them the series treatment, but also doing it with a bit of love and care and actual effort. So I hope that happens.
Oh yeah, I absolutely do. But yeah, like but with the Disney live action remakes, honestly, those are the ones that. No, I would not be interested in a series of sorts. Like, especially another one that I've heard. I hope this is another one that gets canceled. Did you hear about the Aladdin spin-off series?
Yeah, not necessary. Not necessary. Here's the thing with all of these remakes, and then I want you to tell me all about this Aladdin remake series. But like, do you remember when Gus Van Sant redid Psycho? He did like Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, and he did it shot for shot, and you're like, why? Like, why would you do that? If it's worth remaking, and you're making it in a different medium, why wouldn't you try to take liberties and make it unique? And I know people don't always like that. People want absolute fidelity to the thing, but like Sam Raimi changed Spider-Man a little bit when he did those Spider-Man trilogies, and those were logical changes that made it unique to itself. So I just don't get why we're so allergic to that. And it's like, if you're going to make a basically a beat for beat remake, and oftentimes a shot for shot remake of The Lion King or of Cinderella or any of that stuff, why are we doing that? Like, what's the purpose in it?
I don't know. It's just like, I feel like it's just a thing that like people are just consuming it anyways. So like, I think really it's one of those things where money is just the true motivator of all this. And that's why I feel like probably after The Little Mermaid, that's when things are really going to settle down and we're going to see like less and less, or they would just be exclusive to Disney Plus, especially now that we're at the point where they're going into like the Walt Disney territory, like the true Walt Disney classics. Like later this year, we're going to have Pinocchio with Robert Zemeckis, or like we're also going to have that Snow White movie with Rachel Zegler. Like, I don't know. It's just, I just don't feel like I see the point. It's just like, if you're really going to go and really be committed to try to make a live action remake and just do the same thing, then like, why don't I just watch the animated film?
Right. And so I have not seen a single image from Zemeckis's Pinocchio, so I don't want to talk bad about it before I see anything. But here's a perfect example. Is like you said, what's the point in doing something if it's going to literally be kind of the same thing? Guillermo del Toro has a Pinocchio film coming out next year, as you know, which is, I believe it's stop motion, right? Or is it a combination of different animation?
No, it's stop motion.
That is why we do these things, because you breathe new life into stories that we've heard 1,000 times. You tell it a little bit different and a little bit more interestingly than came before. And I just don't feel that about any of the Disney remakes, but I am very excited about stuff that is playing in that same sandbox. Like, I'm so excited about Guillermo's Pinocchio.
Oh, yeah. Same here. I'm so excited for that. And I mean, technically, there's also that really crappy Lionsgate movie that's going to be coming soon. Have you heard about that one?
Well, it's like a prequel series or something, right? What is it?
No. Oh, my God. It's a completely different. It's a retelling. Like, they're doing something different, but it ain't good. It's Pinocchio joining the circus and he falls in love with a girl.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Tale as old as time. Puppet meets traveling circus lady, and the rest is history, as they say.
Yes, the love story of freaking Pauly Shore with his flamboyant performance.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. Okay, I have no comment on that. I have not seen it. I'm just saying I like Guillermo del Toro. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I understand you. I'm totally hyped for that one as well. But yeah, like, just like these live action remakes, it's just I don't really see the point, and I especially don't see the point of like truly expanding them when like their relevancy like really dies down so quickly, because it's like after a few months that they would be released, we just go back to enjoying the originals.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I'm saying. Again, is whether they're giant successes, they don't seem to have a cultural impact. They don't seem like we're talking about it. And I remember like when we got to the "You Ain't Never Had a Friend Like Me" scene from Aladdin, and I just was thinking about how amazing that scene was when I was a kid. And then I went home, and after we watched that, I watched the animated version of Aladdin. I'm like, timeless. That's always going to be amazing because it's frozen in amber. We're like, this stuff I don't think is going to be remembered 20 years from now or 2 years from now. Really, no one's really talking about any of them, you know?
Nah, not really. So I think ultimately it is going to be for the best that like we just let go of this of this remake. Honestly, I think this is better because I'll mention right now, it's kind of a coincidence that we actually got a Disney Plus series that is canceled that was developed by developed by the Once Upon a Time creators and Josh Gad, because there was another one that they originally planned, and this was a much better idea, where they wanted to do a limited series that was meant to be a sequel to Muppets Take Manhattan. Now that one, I'm
ready for it. Yeah, was really excited about that, and also sort of was just unjustly like this. That one seems more of a tragedy than this one being canceled.
Yes.
Like I could care less about this one.
Yes, especially. I mean, like that one had a great idea going, and that one had a great use of like what they want to do with the Muppets. But then, like you got this, it's like, nah, that needed to be let go.
Yeah, I mean. So here's the thing: we're happy, right? We dodged a bullet. That's what we're saying. Is that every now and then the universe will throw us a bone.
Yeah, this is just like our small piece of relief from Disney.
Yeah. It's our penance. It's the one thing that keeps us going at night.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, how do you feel about the cancel? How do you feel about the Beauty and the Beast prequel series getting canceled? Are you guys relieved about it? Are you guys actually more disappointed? Let me know what you all think about all this.
I hope there's someone who is like just a huge fan of the remake and is like gonna write a treatise, like a manifesto about why it's the greatest film of all time.
Yeah. Oh my God. Probably. There's always those kinds of people. I even got a few, like whenever I would talk about the Disney live action remakes. And okay, hold on a sec. Yeah, there are some people that are a bit upset about the lag. So let me just fix that up real quick.
No worries.
Yeah, because apparently the lag is just getting way too out of hand.
It's because we're talking against Disney. They hear it.
That's probably it. Hold on, I just need to reassure them first. Oh yeah, even trying to stop the stream, it's taking a little bit of a while actually.
Oh no.
Yeah. Well, then again, like my computer. Okay, there we go. Admittedly, my computer, like it is a few years old. Like eventually I probably need to like replace it or something. Especially if I'm gonna do these kinds of streams.
Yeah, I mean, well, so when I do this, just a little professional, hat to hat sort of thing. I have a dedicated computer for the streaming, so it's either that or a dedicated computer for the Skype or Zooming, because that takes so much bandwidth, and it'll usually mess up whatever you're doing. I don't know if you're using OBS or something, but
yeah, I am using OBS actually.
Okay.
Okay, so it should be back on. Let's see. Hopefully, okay, it looks like it might be getting a little bit better. I'm just hoping. I am just hoping. Let's see. All right, so guys, are we back? Are you guys okay, chat wall? Are you perfectly fine? Just want to see. Hopefully they will be okay with this, and hopefully the lag won't be too bad.
I mean, I have it up over here, and I got nothing.
All right. Okay, good. I'm starting to see people actually commenting that they are fine. Okay. But it seems to be an
I believe in
improvement.
them. Yeah, as long as they're good.
Okay, so Chadwell, so if I may ask my question again, how do you all feel about the Beauty and the Beast prequel series getting canceled? Are you guys happy about it? Are you actually more disappointed? Let me know what you all think about this. So hopefully, okay, now we can fully resume this whole thing. Okay, good flippin' riddance. We all know the last time they attempted to make a Beauty and the Beast TV series. Also, in spite of how great 1991 film is such a beloved classic, its setting isn't enough to warrant a TV series. The Aladdin show, at least, had a few adventurous moments. Heck, if you guys want a TV series about Gaston and LeFou, just watch the Timon and Pumbaa show. Timon is about as self-centered as Gaston, and Pumbaa is kind of goofy voiced for reasons like LeFou. What more can you possibly want? Okay, well, fair argument there.
Yeah, and look, and Timon and Pumbaa rules, by the way. Like, that is such a good show. That's my childhood speaking, but I do really love that show.
No, I do remember that show as well. That was a lot of fun. Let's see. The real question is, do any of us really want a live-action prequel of Gaston? No, because it would still be as unnecessary. It would still be an unnecessary show that might ruin what made Gaston such a great villain. Now, I'm not asking making a prequel show. Oh no, I'm not asking making prequel shows as they can work to be put well, like Better Call Saul, for example. But here, I don't see it working out well in trying to make Gaston a good guy, so it is for the best to leave it alone. And also, for the best to not oversaturate Josh Gad. I have seen too much of him.
Right, we're seeing way too much Josh Gad these days, that's for sure.
We need a Josh Gad. We need a Josh Gad break.
Right, even if Olaf wasn't a thing, I think there's too much Josh Gad going around right now.
Yeah, definitely. I wasn't the most excited for Little Town, but it's a little disappointing to see it get shut down. Sure, the idea of rooting for Gaston is pretty weak, but if DC could make their villains endearing through Joker and especially Peacemaker, maybe it could have worked. Or maybe I just wanted it to be about Gaston and LeFou being construction workers, just so the theme song would be, no one builds like Gaston, no one drills like Gaston, no one cuts and installs Windows stills like Gaston.
Okay, listen, guy, get an agent and pitch that, because that is a show I would watch. I would watch that version of this prequel series.
Oh my god, the Gaston building series.
It's amazing.
Let's see now.
There's more imagination in that comment than in the entire premise of that live action remake.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, especially especially this guy who would put up these comments. Oh my god, he like the kind of comments that he would put up. It's amazing how he could even think of these things and time them well on Twitch. Although the show could have some potential, given that Gaston isn't bound to the castle, unlike Belle, the Beast, and the castle's inanimate inhabitants, there's only so much that can be done with a misogynist, even if there are a few episodes dedicated to his time in the army. Plus, I hate to see Disney lie about the LGBT plus rep they could claim to have in that series, where they give you an idea, they just give us the onward Cyclops instead of a relationship like Lumidity in terms of development. Yeah, oh, that is true. I almost forgot that like they try to advertise LeFou as like one of their first gay characters or something.
Yeah, that was a big like arms race. There was a space race for gayness at some point. I remember like Star Trek tried to do the same thing with Sulu. And they're like, oh, but he's gay on screen. But they like just had him like touch the shoulder of his partner. Like they couldn't be too gay on screen. That was too controversial. And it's amazing to me that like Disney, I agree with this person, like would have used it as street cred that is completely undeserved.
Yeah, they've done that so many times. Like they did it with Onward. They did it with Beauty and the Beast. They did. Yeah. And they did it with Cruella as well. Like they they try to say like, oh, look how flamboyant he is. He's one of our first gay original characters. It's like,
yeah. When we're conflating being flamboyant with being gay is sort of a problem immediately. Like Luca, I thought was very interesting because Luca, I thought was like this close from just going there and making it like Pixar's first gay couple. And I was like, yes. So I don't know, that felt better. And I think it's like, you can't just say someone is something without showing and proving and like making it a real attempt to display that, you know?
Yeah. Well, then again, you do have the villain Urkelay, and I mean, that dude, like, there was someone on Twitter who actually described it best that Urkelay radiates homophobic homosexual energy.
Right. He's like a Southern Baptist in the Bible Belt or something.
Yes, exactly. Considering the track record of Disney's live action remakes, it is probably good that we didn't get this. It is true that you can make him somewhat sympathetic like Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, but there is also the challenge with that. While we are meant to feel sorry for them, there is still need to show that they are the bad guy, and considering how much of a douche Gaston is, not a lot of people would want to follow his story. Let's see what else. Do we have any other comments? Okay, I'll go with this one. One more. When I first heard about Disney making a prequel series of the live-action Beauty and the Beast reboot, I was like, yeah, right. I did enjoy the live-action reboot, but it's just really wasn't my favorite Disney movie, so I would rather stick with a live-action Jungle Book reboot. However, Luke Evans did a pretty solid Gaston, but it wasn't close enough to be like what's his name who voiced Gaston. I think it's like Richard White or something. If I think I'm trying to remember, but. I think it's the best if the series will be in utter darkness and never seen the light of day. Yeah, probably for the best. All right, so now for our next story. We got a big story going on. Now, Christian, may I ask you, are you a fan of Futurama?
I think, yeah. I mean, I'm not going to preamble this. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful series. It has 9 lives, apparently, and we're on like the 4th or 5th one at the moment.
Yes, well, apparently we're going to see a brand new life coming soon, which is going to be on Hulu. Yes, Hulu has officially announced that they are going to be bringing back Futurama in 2023. And not only that, but they are also going to be bringing back the original creators and most of the cast, where Matt Groening and David S. Cohen is going to be returning, as well as Billy West, Katie Sagal, Tress MacNeille, Maurice LaMarche, Lauren Tom, Phil Lamar, and David Herman. We have also received a few quotes where the creator stated, starting with David, where he says, "I'm thrilled to have another chance to think about the future, or really anything other than the present." And Matt Groening stated, "It's a true honor to announce the triumphant return of Futurama one more time before we get canceled abruptly again." We have also received a quote from the president of Hulu Originals and ABC Entertainment, Craig Erwich, in which he states, "When presented with the opportunity to bring fans and viewers new episodes of Futurama, we couldn't wait to dive in. This iconic series helped blaze the trail for the success of adult animation since its initial launch, and we look forward to Matt and David continuing to pave the way and further establishing Hulu as the premier destination for fans of the genre." However, as great as it is to see Futurama coming back, there is a little bit of a catch, and this is where a moment to celebrate has become a moment of frustration, because yes, we do have everybody back except for one crucial actor, and that is John DiMaggio, the voice of Bender. Yes, apparently John DiMaggio is not going to be coming back, where, long story short, it's because of not contractual reasons, but they tried negotiating a new contract for how much he would be paid for the voice of Bender and a few other characters, but they couldn't agree on a new deal. In fact, to read you from my source here on Deadline, it states, missing from the list is one of the 3 lead voice actors, John DiMaggio, who voices foul-mouthed robot Bender among half a dozen characters. The role is currently being recast ahead of the first table read on Monday. The decision was made after DiMaggio's negotiations with Futurama Studio 20th Television Animation came to a standstill, though there is a desire on both sides to have him rejoin the cast and reprise his role. I hear DiMaggio, who has traveled the world promoting the character and the series over the years, was approached along with the rest of the cast. According to sources, the offer to DiMaggio was in line with that of fellow leads West and Seagal, who, after a back and forth, agreed to a deal, while DiMaggio felt the proposal was not competitive based on the success and name recognition of the original series. So yeah, it's kind of a big deal that we are seeing with the fact that Futurama is coming back, but not the original voice of Bender. And as a Futurama fan, how do you feel about this?
I hate to not speculate wildly on this, but I feel like this is kind of nothing because there's no way that this comes back without DiMaggio. Like, this is all we're negotiating in the public sort of thing. He is synonymous with the series in a way that, like, you know, it's like Seinfeld, right? There's a thing when Seinfeld said on the final episode, for the rest of our lives, when anyone thinks of one of us, they'll think of all of us. And I feel that way about Futurama as a cast. Like, you need Fry, you know what I'm saying? You need Katie Sagal. You need John DiMaggio. Like, that is the character, and there's no way this is going to come back without him. So I feel like this is just like it's a negotiating thing out in the public, and I fully expect that this will get taken care of in the next month or so. Like, I know it's not like the sexy story you want. I know we want to like gesticulate wildly about how this is an outrage. And I'll tell you, if this actually does go forward without him, it is an outrage. Like, that would be ridiculous, but I just really don't believe that's going to happen.
No, that's perfectly fair, actually. And with that said, do you feel like maybe this might be, or like, I know this might be a little bit too speculative, but do you feel like this could be a publicity stunt purposely made by Hulu?
Oh God, that would be really smart, right? That's speculative, but that's also like marketing 101, like get the conversation going, right? I think that it's interesting because while Futurama is certainly revered by people, it's never been a Simpsons level phenomenon or, you know, any of that kind of stuff. It's been this thing that's almost been like a secret handshake. Like, the people who love it a bunch. And I think that if you want to kind of make it like, hey, we're bringing back a legacy show, creator of The Simpsons, he's still out there making a bunch of different shows with Disenchantment on Netflix and stuff. This is the way to kind of cultivate a lot of buzz around it. And so I have no idea if that's true, but it makes a lot of sense that would be the case.
Yeah, and well, for me, I do understand why Hulu would want to do this. And funny enough, I feel like the big reason why they would want to go and actually bring back Futurama is actually based on Animaniacs. Because so far, Animaniacs is doing extremely well on Hulu with both seasons, and I think they got a third one that's going to be coming up. So, so probably they have found a new market of trying to bring back these old, like, fan favorite shows, and of course, Futurama would be like an obvious choice. And I've heard a lot of discussions from fans where, like, a lot of them feel extremely iffy because apparently the finale that they've already established before, like, what was apparently perfect. You know, I feel like we're kind of returning to the same kind of conversation about Toy Story, where some fans were upset of the fact that there would be a Toy Story 4 after establishing an amazing finale.
The third is beautiful. Yeah, I cried my eyes out. As a grown man surrounded by children in the theater, I cried my eyes out while watching Toy Story 3 because it felt like a beautiful, perfect ending. Likewise, I was very upset with the announcement of a Toy Story 4, but I was pleasantly surprised with a Toy Story 4. You know what I mean? So, like, I think it's very similar to that, which is like, you have your ending. It's still there. Really, we're just getting more adventures with these characters that we love, you know? And even if the new ending doesn't quite get there, I've always felt that they've just been playing with house money at this point. You know, it's just extra. It doesn't change anything else.
Yeah, exactly. So with Futurama, like, even with the finale that they have established before, you don't mind that like they would come back even with that?
I really don't. I mean, because this is what I'm saying. It's like when people try to say like the last Star Wars films ruined the original trilogy. I'm like, but why? Like they shouldn't. They exist. They're out there. They're being perfect. Like, and I feel the same way about it. Is like we have a really lovely ending, and it's still gonna be there. Like Futurama also isn't a show that is like so steeped in serialization. Obviously, there are serialized elements of it, but it's sort of like, hey, there's a new adventure every week. It's not like a Lost or some other show that's heavily reliant on building a giant kind of continuity and stuff. Of great, that's probably the best way to say it. A great mythology, but not necessarily great continuity. And so I think like all this allows us to do is have more adventures with our friends. But once again, the story is if DiMaggio's not there, then we're not really going on that adventure with our friends, you know?
Yeah. So yeah, I guess, so would you be like, so in that regard, would you be on the side of those guys, of the fans who want to actually boycott, this Futurama if Bender does not come back?
I mean, everyone can do whatever they want. You know, I don't like, that's the thing about boycotting. It's like everyone has the ability to personally boycott something. And if you don't want to watch a Futurama without Bender, don't. I'll tell you, I'm not going to like boycott it maliciously or picket sign it, but I will feel very similar that it's like, well, this isn't the show that you're bringing back. Like it's a fake version of it. Your Weekend at Bernie Futurama if you come back without John DiMaggio. So
yeah, that is fair enough. That is fair enough. But
it's like you like Adventure Time. It's very similar to me.
Oh, Adventure Time.
If they brought back like Finn but not Jake, it's like, well, like it's a two-hander. You sort of need, you know what I mean? So I would be against that on principle, but I don't know if I would, you know, be lining the streets with protest signs and stuff.
Yeah, because that seems to currently be the big thing that's going on, is the big like I guess the online protests of like bringing back John DiMaggio and hoping that there could be a new deal. But again, like considering what we have talked about, I wouldn't be surprised if it actually is a marketing strategy. And considering the reaction that we have seen, I think it's inevitable that yes, they are going to bring back John DiMaggio. They will like renegotiate a new deal, and even like the sources state that they are still interested in wanting to have him back. It's not like they're like shunning him forever or anything like that. They still want to have him return to voice Bender.
It's also a precedent here, just with Matt Groening stuff, right? Henry Shearer, very famously, Ned Flanders and stuff,
yes,
a couple years ago, remember? And he was like, "I'm out," and they found a way to get it done, because when you're essential to the crew, like we're gonna find a way to find money in the cushions.
Yeah, exactly. It like I remember talking with someone about it, and they mentioned exactly that, where it is exactly like the Harry Shearer controversy, where he was about to leave the Simpsons, but then they found a way to renegotiate their deal, and like he's still back, and to this day he's still doing the voices and stuff.
Right. I mean, that's the precedent's already been set, as Groening's a producer who will figure it out, you know?
Yeah.
And also it's his legacy. Like, I don't think anyone wants Futurama to come back to be a watered down version of it, because each time it has somehow come back, I've always felt like it's been a worthy addition to the show. It's not been like a cash grab necessarily. And so I don't think anyone's interested in bringing this back to make a bad version of it.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. And especially how like the original since they are very committed to bringing in the original creators and to bring like everybody back, I think that is kind of a positive sign. Like it show, like I'll even say it shows more dedication than with Animaniacs. Like, yeah, they brought back the original actors, but they didn't even bother bringing back any of the original creators of the show. And that's why I've seen nowadays there have been some like mixed reactions. There are some that still really do like the new Animaniacs, but there are also others that feel like this didn't, like nowadays they don't recapture like what made the original so iconic. So at least with this one, it shows that they are more devoted in bringing it back.
Yeah, I think people also kind of just sleep on the fact that sometimes things are products of the time in which they're made. I think Futurama is a little bit different because they have come back a couple times and it still seems to be mostly good. But like, I think Arrested Development, it's like it was on for those couple years and then it took like I don't know, 11 years before they made another season of it. And when it came back, the first thing people said is like, oh, that whatever that was, that magic in a bottle, like it's not there anymore. It's just so hard to go away and come back and still be as relevant or as good or as funny. I think the Animaniacs is mostly fine, but I agree. It's missing the, hey, you're in Montreal, the je ne sais quoi, right? It's missing that special thing that makes it as reverent as the original was.
Yeah, exactly. So in here, it does show that they are more dedicated to stay true to like what is it that made that made Futurama so great. In a way, like Hulu is learning from the mistakes that they have made in Animaniacs so that they could really refine it with Futurama. Because if they are going to be bringing back something like Futurama, of course, that's going to be a huge deal.
Yeah, I think also just from a business side, it makes sense to grab something that has a dedicated fan base and is known IP. So you can relaunch a Futurama and be more successful than having to pay a bunch of people to come up with the next big thing, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, overall though, so do you think you're going to watch Futurama when it's going to come out in 2023?
Yeah, as long as DiMaggio's there. Yeah, I don't see why I wouldn't. I like the show.
All right, so that seems to be that seems to be pretty good. Even for me, I'll say that I am actually curious to see like what the new Futurama will be about, and if they could find a way to like still capture that same magic that actually made everybody love Futurama in the first place, and if they do bring like I'm sure like again. I think it's a guarantee John DiMaggio will come back eventually. If it is going to be coming out next year, then, I mean, they got plenty of time. So, so honestly, we'll see. But I think, honestly, I'm a bit more positive about this.
I'm glad. You should be. This is a good news. All right. We got rid of the Beauty and the Beast prequel and we got a Futurama on the same day, pretty much. That's amazing.
Exactly. Hey, exactly. We got a nice bonus. And
yeah,
it's
when
from
God closes a door, he opens a window, right? That's what they say.
Yeah, exactly. And it's all from Disney. I mean, Hulu is owned by Disney, so I know maybe, well, I'm not 100% sure because like we don't have Hulu in Canada. Like we just have it mixed with Disney Plus, and sometimes like if it's not directly from Disney, they would just like disperse it everywhere. So like maybe I'll have it on Disney. Actually, no, I think I will get it because I do have I do have Futurama on Disney Plus, so I'll be seeing it there. Actually.
Well, I think you'll have that because that's 20th or 30th Century Fox, as they say when it's Futurama. But it's that studio, so it's definitely going to be on Disney Plus for you.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying because I know that we don't have Animaniacs on Disney Plus in Canada.
Yeah, but that's Warner Brothers who makes that. That's the difference. What I'm saying is that, yeah, Futurama is made in-house by what used to be Fox, which is now owned by Disney, right? So it stands to reason that they would be there. Yeah,
fair enough. I'm just saying because, like, in Canada, we kind of mixed Hulu with Disney Plus a little bit. That's why, like, we could actually watch Solar Opposites on Disney Plus.
Oh, that's weird. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah. There's a lot of like really really questionable adult content that you could find on our Disney Plus.
Yeah, I'm always like, because I go to like Europe, once a year or something, and I go to like different countries, and every Netflix is different and all that stuff, and like Hulu doesn't work in half these countries. But Canada, like, again, being the crazy little beautiful Narnia that it is, it's just like I hear stuff like that where it's like you can watch Solar Opposites on Disney Plus, like next to the Moana TV series. That's the craziest thing I've ever heard. I love it.
I know, and especially with the fact that like we could watch Rocky Horror Picture Show on Disney Plus. So like I could watch my favorite Disney princess, Frankenfurther.
Yeah, that definitely the best one, by the way. Come on,
absolutely.
Disney, make it happen. Have some courage.
Yes. All right. With that said, I would like to know from the chat wall, and I would like to ask, what is your opinion on Futurama coming back? Maybe without John DiMaggio, but most likely will. Are you guys excited for Futurama to return? And especially if you are a fan of Futurama, I would like to know your opinion on this. Let's see what we got. I absolutely love Futurama, and I'm excited to see what this new series has to offer, but man, it won't be the same without John DiMaggio. In a way, he's the perfect voice for Bender. He's kind of the voice that could be imitated but never duplicated, but I hope they could find a new deal that could keep DiMaggio on board. But for now, I'm a little iffy. Also, can there please be an episode where Fry goes back to the present to visit his dog?
Oh my God, the Roswell That Ends Well episode.
Yes.
The devastating. Another
Oh my
example of
God.
me crying my eyes out, but thankfully no children were around.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. I think like with the cultural impact of that particular episode, we need to see like there needs to be like a happy ending for that dog. I think that's what people are asking.
Yeah, I hope so. We'll see. And that's the thing when you get the opportunity to come back and make, amends.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Just tie up loose ends and give what people deserve. Give them the heartfelt, like the justice that the dog deserves. Right. Personally, I've been watching Futurama over and over again on Hulu. Futurama is one of those shows I kept rewatching. It was my fault for this show to return, lol, but I'm glad it's back yet again. I'm sure John DiMaggio will be back as Bender, just that it takes time to negotiate. Besides that, I'm looking forward to see what happens next. All right. While I've never watched Futurama, hearing that it's coming back feels unnecessary. I feel like the reason why this show is coming back is just so they can add more content on Hulu, so I won't be interested in watching it. Also, is Flea available on Star? Because Flea is on Hulu right now, and I find it amazing now that I watch it. Is Flea on Star in Canada? That is actually a very good question. I have yet to actually check it out, but honestly, for me, I would love to watch Flea. I've heard nothing but amazing things about it, and I mean, I want to watch it at least before the Oscars come. So if I can actually have the ability to see it on Disney Plus, I'll immediately go and jump into the opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, I'm asking my resident animation expert, like encyclopedic animation knows where everything is available to stream, sort of thing. So if it is, I will report this in a few minutes, but I hope so.
Oh, perfect. Let's see. DiMaggio's absence over a payment problem reminds me of why Clancy Brown quit after being the voice of Dr. Neo Cortex from Crash Bandicoot after Nitro Kart. He was underpaid and wasn't told about the changes in the game. As a result, Lex Lang took over from here on out. Even though I am a partial fan of Futurama, I don't think this revival is necessary. If John ain't back as our bot, all I could say is, bite my shiny metal ass. Yeah, and I mean, that is true, because as we've talked about with not just John DiMaggio and also Harry Sheeran, I mean, it's unfortunately kind of common where we see these voice actors often getting replaced, and it is mainly due to negotiating their prices. Like sometimes they couldn't stay there for long. They end up being too expensive to afford, so they have to go and find someone new.
Yeah, but like in the case, I can't speak for DiMaggio, but in the case of Henry Shearer, it's like, do you know how they do the recording process for The Simpsons? Because you don't need to go to a studio. You can do it over the phone anywhere in the world. Like it really is like an hour of work. So I have less sympathy for Harry Shearer in that story than like DiMaggio. DiMaggio's like a hard worker, man. He shows up everywhere. Like he is famous for his voice. It's a commodity. Like Henry Shearer has been in front of the camera. Like people know who Henry Shearer is. John DiMaggio is a little bit more anonymous. So like I have more sympathy for him, you know?
No, John DiMaggio is like one of the most dedicated voice actors in the business right now. I mean, he's the guy who actually, I think he is the guy who actually made the documentary, I Know That Voice. Are you familiar with that one?
Yeah. So he actually made that. That's interesting. I didn't know he made it.
Yeah. So like this guy is very passionate about his craft, and I mean, like I even heard a lot of stories of how like these characters are very personal to him, and like he would even get emotional during like panels and conventions to see like the kind of impact that he is making with characters like Jake or Bender or whoever.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, how many people he's almost like the Patrick Stewart of voice acting. That sounds ridiculous. It's just like, and the idea that like, or Ian McKellen. Ian McKellen gets to be Gandalf and he gets to be Magneto. Like, why does people get to be so lucky? You got two giant franchises. And I feel like the fact that like he was so many people's childhood with Bender, you know, like that came out when I was like 8 or 9 or something. And I remember it very distinctly. And then like watching Adventure Time with my nephews, and like that's a voice that they grew up with, and it's like this real emotional kind of thing from one person who's been in our lives way more than we realize.
Oh, absolutely. I'll read 2 more comments before we move on to our last story. As far as DiMaggio recasting news goes, I think trying to make a Futurama revival work without all of the original cast members is like trying to make a Boondocks revival without all of its original cast members, which got canned. It's hard to imagine Bender with a new voice actor. Futurama's finale is already perfect, and it didn't really need to continue its story, but we'll see how this goes for Hulu. Maybe DiMaggio might rejoin the cast someday, depending on how they'll work things out. Oh yeah, definitely. Something got stuck in my throat. It seems like whatever animated show Matt Groening makes will never die. Futurama feels like it doesn't have the seasonal rot that The Simpsons has got, so I am excited for it, but I am also scared that it might also become a victim of seasonal rot as well. It does suck that we might not get John DiMaggio back for it since he partially is Bender, but it is good that they are trying to make a new deal with him, and if they don't, they'll probably just grab an impersonator to do the voice. Nah, he'll be back. Don't worry about that.
I have nothing but confidence that's going to happen.
All right, so with that said, it is now time that we make it to the grand finale. And Christian, just wondering, since we have been talking about TV shows and movies, would you also say that you are a gamer?
Pretty avid, yes, sir.
Okay, very good. So that pretty much makes us both qualified to talk about our last story. And this is another major announcement, debatably as big as the Oscar nominations. So let's go right into it and talk about Nintendo Direct. Yes, Nintendo has made another Nintendo Direct on Wednesday, in which they have made a decent amount of announcements, some updates regarding games that we already know, and also some announcements for some brand new ones. And instead of just listing them one by one, we're just going to go and talk about our personal highlights. So, Christian, what would you say is your major standout moment of Nintendo Direct, or your standout moments?
Yeah, okay, so it's going to make me sound like a bad Nintendo fan who's clamoring for things that I've already owned in the past, but obviously I think the Mario Kart thing's really big. Most of us wanted Mario Kart 9. I understand that. We wanted a fully fledged new game. In lieu of that, the idea that we're going to get 48, basically double the amount of levels we already have in the game. We're going to double the size of the game in the next year and a half. That's kind of amazing to me. We're going to get a lot of like favorites from the N64, GameCube versions of the game. Very, very excited about that. Again, weird because it's something that's already been available for, I think, 6 years now on other systems, but I really am excited about No Man's Sky being portable. Like, I like the idea that that's something that you can pick up and take with you now because it's already a game of exploration, so that's super exciting. Xenoblade Chronicles 3, I mean, obviously, there are a lot of great things that are coming out, but the inner 6-year-old in me is just so on hype about these new Mario Kart levels.
Yeah, honestly, for me, I feel like with Mario Kart, that is like one of the biggest cock tease that Nintendo has done to the fans. I mean, like, they've all been demanding for Mario Kart 9, and then like they mention about, oh, here's some Mario Kart news. It's like Mario Kart 9, and then suddenly it's like Mario Kart 8 Season Pass. Like,
I get it, but look, $24.99, all things considered, for 48 more levels, like, it seems like it makes sense to me from at least like a bang for your buck perspective. I agree that like this is what happens, you know, like Nintendo repackages a lot of their stuff. I got Skyward Sword HD. I definitely bought Skyward Sword the day it came out on the Wii, like, but we keep buying these things because they're like legacy projects. And I will say this, like, in terms of my own personal preference, everyone's like, oh, I'm a Sony fanboy or I'm a Microsoft. Like, for me, Nintendo has always been it. Like, it's not to say that I don't love those other systems. I own both of them. But in terms of like what I grew up playing, like the emotional, like Super Metroid is one of the greatest games ever made, A Link to the Past, like Ocarina of Time, like all that stuff. Nintendo is where it's at for me. So I'm kind of okay navel gazing and going backwards as long as we're still getting new stuff. I really hope that like next year we get a Mario Kart 9 announcement. You know, like something that's still, it's like it's 2 years out, but at least like, so they heard the fandom that is, because that came out for the Wii U, didn't it? The first the Mario Kart 8?
Yes, it did.
I mean, it's like been like 9 years or something since that game came out. And I think we're all pretty desperate for another version of it.
Yeah. And like, even though I do say that it is a cock tease, that doesn't mean I'm not going to get it myself. Like, right. I'm also really excited to play like these new karts and like to revisit like many of the classics. Like even though so I wouldn't say it really got backlash, because like even the fans who were disappointed that it's not Mario Kart 9, they're still happy that they would be able to play Coconut Mall on the Switch.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, let me ask you this, and I feel like based on your attire that you're wearing, I could probably guess what was a highlight for you.
Yes.
But yeah. I mean, which is awesome, by the way. It's so exciting.
Actually, for me, that is actually the big highlight for me. Personally, I'm not really too big on like some of the other major announcements. Like, I'm happy that there are people out there who are excited for Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Personally, I'm not really that much, like I've never really played the game, so I can't really put my opinion on it. But the Kirby announcements though, oh my god, I think right now Kirby is already my most anticipated game of the year. Like with all the new stuff that they have announced. And of course, like we all know about mouthful mode. We have seen all the memes and stuff. Like that is fun. But for me, I would say like what I'm excited for are the things that not many people are really talking about now. That mouthful mode kind of overshadow. Like number one, you can upgrade all the different abilities that Kirby has.
That's
like
awesome.
that is actually really cool. And also the fact that you could go and like throughout the game you can actually build this Waddle Dee village. Like you can actually collect stuff and you could spend it all on trying to build up your entire village so that it's more like it grows bigger and more civilized in a way, filled with Waddle Dees. And that is something, and not to mention how the game itself looks absolutely gorgeous.
I'm just really excited that Nintendo is seemingly, it's not that they've ever forgotten this necessarily, but it's just production cycles make it seem like they're a little negligent on their, like, you know, some of their other characters that aren't Mario. And so it's like, I'm so glad that we got Metroid Dread this year, which was like this beautiful, I think, love letter and a really high production value of a legacy character. Likewise, I mean, the new Kirby, it seems like, hey, they're not sparing an expense here. They realize like how careful they have to be with this character to make something of quality, and it looks great. I mean, the problem is you only get one of those kind of at a time. I think that's my problem with most of Nintendo. Like all the other announcements on here are really cool, but it's like, hey, Portal 1 and 2 are going to come to the Switch, and like that's cool. Like the same way with No Man's Sky, which is like it's cool to have something like that portable, but you're catching up to where other systems were 7 or 8 years ago. Like that doesn't make you like the hottest ticket in town. What does are the Kirbys and the Metroid Dreads and Breath of the Wilds 2 and those things, first party stuff.
Yeah, those are the ones that are like the true standout moments. Like I did find it cool that we see like Portal coming back, especially, and also seeing the Ezio collection of Assassin's Creed that's coming back. And then I see a lot of people like hyping up for I think it's Klonoa. That's also coming back.
There's a lot of hype on it right now.
Yeah, there's like a lot of these games that are returning, but then again, those are games that already existed. Like we want games that are unique, that are fresh, that are new. That's why like nowadays the new big Nintendo game is Pokemon Legends Arceus, because it's like it takes like what we know with Pokemon, but given like a major spin to it that everybody is still like playing heavily on.
Right. Well, that's interesting, too, because like Pokemon, like my origin story, I get like Pokemon Blue and Red, like the early Game Boy ones and stuff. And they're mostly identical, games, save for the cartridge and like starting Pokemon and stuff like that. Right. But what's so interesting about them is that no two Mario games are the same. No two Zelda games are the same. No two Kirby games are the same. Like they understand what makes their games work, but also know how to change those things in order for it to be a unique experience. The story always going to be the same, right? Like Princess Peach is somewhere, Mario's got to go in there, do something. That's always going to be the same. And yet they find a different way to tell that story every single time. That's the genius, man. It's not like being completely original every single go. It's just being like original enough that you're doing something you haven't done before. And Nintendo does that better than any of the other companies, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, yeah, with Nintendo, it's never really been about the story. It's about like having fun with the games. And also there's someone in the chat wall actually brings up another good point. Actually, a game that like another like Nintendo, like full on Nintendo game, the comeback of Mario Strikers Battle League. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, awesome. Because like one of the better of those sports games. Like I'm not huge on like Mario Tennis I like one of them and hate the other one. I can't remember if it's tennis or golf, but one of them is a bad game. But this is really, really exciting because I always liked Strikers on the GameCube back in the day. And this seems like it's going to promote sort of the fun party atmosphere of like, I think it's 5v5 too. So in theory, you can have like all of these people playing, which is going to be like a real fun, competitive party atmosphere. And yeah, I mean, if they're going to do that, I mean, they seem content on milking Mario for every sport he's ever played or Olympics that he goes to. But that doesn't mean they have to be bad. And I feel like Strikers is a good example of that. Like you can make a good one of those games for sure.
Yeah, I mean, with Mario Strikers, it's kind of surprising that Nintendo has yet to like return to that kind of that kind of game, because like they always do like Kart, they always do golf, they always do tennis, but Strikers, it feels like a cult favorite that Nintendo was like a bit negligent, because especially like when it really does feel a bit more like its own thing than something legitimately from Mario. Even the art style, which like even in the new Strikers, they're really taking advantage of.
Yeah, I mean, but that's great because, again, if you're going to take this like detour down an avenue, why not do it a little bit differently? Whatever. Nintendo has earned their stripes. They can, if they want to do the same thing over and over again, I guess they can do that. But I feel like it's a point of personal pride that they don't repeat themselves. Like not like that. They try to make a new experience unique every single time you play one of their games.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and there is another one that just clicked on my head that is also another big announcement: the Nintendo Switch Sports. The fact that they're bringing back Wii Sports, but now for
Wii Sports 2.0, right? That's what it is, basically. Yeah.
How do you feel about that one?
You know what's interesting about that is like I think Wii Sports was such a phenomenon because of the interactivity to it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like there was the whole like I'm gonna get up and physically mime and do those motions, and so like I didn't see, this is like one of the only ones I didn't see because I saw it late. But so what's the demonstration on it? Because if it's just like we're playing on the remote, I feel like there's no way it's going to be as.
No, they are actually more committed to actually doing like the gyroscope and actually like playing around, but. Like there is a part of me that isn't really as interested. Like they got some of the fan favorite ones in there. Like they got like the jousting one. Okay. It's not really called jousting, but like they got that dual one. They got bowling, of course. And there's another one that
They didn't bring golf back. That was a biggie.
Oh no! They said that they're going to do like expansion passes, or they're going to have like downloadable content that like you can add more to it. And golf is going to be one that will be added in the fall.
Okay.
And they got tennis, but then they have like 3 new ones in there, which is basically. It's basically more tennis. Like they got soccer. Well, they do have soccer, which this version feels a bit more like Rocket League. But then they also have badminton and volleyball, and that really does feel a bit like
those are kind of the same. Yeah, that was like,
they feel like
we
tennis.
could reskin this pretty easily and sell it twice, you know?
Yeah, and that's the thing. It just feels like half the games are tennis and the other ones are just like, you know, the same, like just different sports games. So that for me, I don't like, that's one that I don't know if I'm really that interested in.
Yeah. I mean, but like that always seemed like more for casual gamers anyway. I think that was sort of the brilliance of the Wii. Like we can always look back at the Wii and say the games weren't on point, but what the Wii did was change our relationship with gaming. And you know it did that because we had like the Kinect and the PlayStation Eye and all these other things that tried to emulate it and then take it a little bit further. So it's like Wii Sports always seemed to me like, hey, my mom who's never played a video game can play Wii Sports with me. And I think maybe it's going to be the same thing this time. Maybe it's going to be more of an example of trying to lure in the casual gamer and not necessarily the hardcore gamer. And I'm fine with that so long as they're giving us Kirby's and Metroids and Breath of the Wilds and stuff.
Yeah, of course. And also there is one that for me personally, I find to be pretty interesting that caught my attention. I don't know how the game itself is going to be, but I'll give it that the concept sounds interesting. Like you probably saw it during the Direct. It's called Disney Speedstorm. It's this free-to-play racer game where you can play like a variety of different Disney characters and just do like the typical Mario Kart racing. And
it's great because you could be Mickey Mouse, but you could also be Jack Sparrow, or you could be Sully from Monsters Inc. And I love that. I think that's really, It's interesting because you think it probably would have happened before now, like in a weird way. It's interesting that it's going to be free to play as well. But I like it. I think it's a cool way to, like, again, take a victory lap, total pun intended, on your characters and on your legacy and stuff. So I don't have a problem with it necessarily. I mean, it didn't look like what I saw. It was like, it's not changing the world. It's nothing to be upset about. You know?
Yeah, and the graphics, I'll admit, they actually do look pretty good as well. Like, I know a lot of people are debating that Mickey's ears do look kind of weird. Like, they're very well, they're very polygony, and also they don't have that effect where, like, when he turns his head, the ears stay in place.
Yeah.
But I will say, like, the graphics actually do look very interesting, but also it's kind of interesting to see the direction that Disney is taking in gaming, because it seems like for a while they're really trying to push, like, having the entire Disney universe in one major game, and they've been doing it again and again, and it doesn't seem like they found the recipe like correctly. Like, they've tried to do so with Disney Infinity, and that ultimately didn't work out. They tried to do it with a bunch of mobile games. They also have one called the Mirrorverse, where they want to try to have, like, these epic steampunk versions of, like, of a variety of Disney characters. And now they want to do Speedstorm as well.
That's interesting. I mean, so obviously Kingdom Hearts comes to mind when you start blurring the Disney stuff together. Epic Mickey, I feel like, is slept on as a game. I'm not saying it's perfect, but, like, it's kind of good. That's all I'm going to say. Do you disagree?
Dude, I'm possibly the biggest Epic Mickey fan out there.
Okay, all right.
I am so glad you mentioned that.
This is what's happening right now. Yeah, I mean, I love Epic Mickey, and I feel like I'm glad we got a sequel to it, but it's sad to me because I worked at GameStop when that came out. I was like, my ear was to the ground of the geek community for gaming, and, like, that one didn't hit the way I think it really deserved to.
The sequel was a massive disappointment.
Oh yeah, totally. I'm talking about Epic Mickey 1.
No, Epic Mickey 1 is
successful enough that we got a sequel. It sucks that the sequel was what it was, but
the first one, like, that was probably the closest that Disney has ever gotten to producing their own game, and it turned out really, really good.
Totally. Yeah.
But yeah, unfortunately, it's just, it didn't, like, just like Disney Infinity, it didn't really work out as well. And, like, I think, like, Disney really wants to try to enter into the gaming market, but they just don't know how to do it correctly on their own. They always need the assistance of either, like, Capcom or Square Enix in order to, like, do so in a proper manner.
Yeah, I mean, not everyone can take the Microsoft approach. Like, I've read that story about the birth of the Xbox and how they just, like, ate $400 million in order to get into the gaming market, period. And it's like, it's not going to happen. Like, Disney's not going to do that. They're not going to take a giant $400 million loss. But it does seem like little by little, hopefully they'll get it. I mean, they were on the right trail with Epic Mickey.
Yeah. And
I think they had tasted some failure, and so they retreated super far away from it. But something like this seems very, like, low cost, high reward sort of thing, like low risk, high reward, which is just like, hey, kart racers are fun. They're party games. Like, people like doing that, and you're going to do that with well-known characters and IP. It should be kind of like a no-brainer hit. I'm not saying it's going to overtake Mario Kart or anything, but it shouldn't be considered, like, inferior either.
Yeah, and if done right, then I can actually see it have some potential. And I think with the Disney games is that they do have the right materials to create something awesome. Like, for me, I always advocate, why isn't Disney doing why hasn't Disney have yet to do, like, their own Smash Bros game? Like, I think that would
we've been yelling about that for forever. I thought at one point the rumor on the street was that they had something like that.
Yes.
Like, okay, what was that? Do you remember the name? I'm sorry.
I don't remember what it is, but I do remember there have been, like, some concept art that popped out. Like, you see, like the Beast, King Louis, the Horn King, the Queen of Hearts, or whatever. Like, you see all those characters, like, brawling. Like, they wanted to do, like, this, like, Smash Bros style game, but never actually happened. But I think, like, Disney would absolutely have the right materials in order to do so. But also, there was another one that I've heard was almost being made, was a fighting game with the Kingdom Hearts characters, where they would have, like, Kingdom Hearts characters and the Disney characters like Hercules and Mickey, but Disney didn't want to.
That would probably be the easiest way to kind of do it, right? Don't you think? Because it's like, all right, well, Kingdom Hearts is Kingdom Hearts. I mean, I know people think the story is indecipherable, and they're probably not wrong at this point, but it's still like, revered. People like the gaming franchise. So if you were going to do that, why not ease that in and take familiar characters from your, movie IPs and animation IPs, but then do it with something that is trusted within gaming. I think that's the problem, is that usually when you're a new kid on the block, it's so hard to just establish yourself in a crowded marketplace like that. And that's why you piggyback off of Square Enix or one of those companies that does have clout, because it allows you to get inside the door a little bit.
Yeah, definitely true. And but then again, I would say maybe Disney might have a change of heart. Maybe we could see something new, especially after Sora has appeared on Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Maybe this could change Disney's tune.
It's just weird because all of these things seem like no-brainers to us, the consumer, like the fandom. Mm-hmm. But like everything is like calculated. It's got to go through 40 approvals before this thing happens. And you figure like, oh, eventually it'll get there. But is it going to be something that happens in a year, 2 years, 10 years? Like, I think Epic Mickey was what, 2010 or 2011
or
2010,
or something? Yeah.
2010, right? And so we've seen like that took a long time. It took a decade before we kind of like dipped our toe back into it in a proper way. But I don't know. I'm excited either way. I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah. So overall, how do you feel about this entire Nintendo Direct? Do you think this is a great one? Did you feel a little disappointed? How do you feel?
I mean, like, there's enough to keep me satiated, right? Like, I'm just a hungry baby bird, Matt. I'm just like, feed me, feed me, feed me. And they gave me 48 Mario Karts. So I'm fine with that. But obviously, like, you and I think, are cut from the same cloth, where what we want is much like Pixar. Nintendo is the Pixar of gaming. I said it here first. We want to go to new places. You know what I'm saying? Like, we want to have new experiences. And while it's great that you can look back at your legacy, like, I think the coolest thing about the Switch really is the Super Nintendo and N64 like expansion stuff, because it's great. You get to pay homage to your legacy. However, you can't get reliant on that. We have to keep going forward. And so in that regard, happy, but a little disappointed.
Yeah, for me, I would say that this Direct was okay. Now, there have been some highlights that I'm definitely excited for, that I'm definitely going to go and get, especially with Kirby and with the Mario Kart with the Mario Kart Season Pass, and like, pretty curious about Disney Speedstorm. But with the others, like, a lot of them are just like announcing old games that are going to be coming to the Switch, as well as like some of the major announcements are from franchises that I haven't necessarily played. Like, yeah, I'm sure some will be excited for them, like Xenoblade Chronicles 3 or the new campaign, or the Salmon Run campaign in Splatoon 3. But overall, there's just not like there's not a whole lot that really stood out for me, or it's like it's not as impactful as the last one. Like, you remember the last Nintendo Direct where like everybody was freaking out over like the Mario movie announcements and stuff like that. So
you can't do that all the time, right? That's one of the things, like, when Nintendo said we're just going to do these Nintendo Direct things and sort of like abandoned E3, like, we lost that. We lost the, like, hey, all of our big announcements are going to be at this one event, and it's always going to seem seismic. When we do Nintendo Directs, they're cool, but very rarely are they ever going to match that level. And like a Mario movie, if we think about that, honestly, like, think about how bad the previous Mario movie was, the Bob Hoskins, John Leguizamo one, right? Like, we're righting wrongs here, and the first thing we do is cast Chris Pratt for some reason. So I don't know, but I, it's hard to replicate that kind of hype on a regular basis. That's all.
Yeah, that okay. You might be correct on that one. It's gonna be hard to like top that, but who knows? Maybe that could mean, like, for next time, that's gonna be when it will be bigger and better.
I mean, I totally think that based on all the things they have in production, the next couple directs are going to be great. They're going to be like really awesome and drum up a lot of excitement from the fan base.
Oh, yeah. So with that said, I would like to know from the chat wall, how did you all feel about this Nintendo Direct? Did you guys think that this was a great Direct? Were you guys disappointed? What were your biggest highlights? Let me know what you all think on this. Let's see now. This Nintendo Direct was honestly underwhelming to me. My most anticipated games that they mention are Mario Strikers Battle League, Splatoon 3, Kirby and the Forgotten World, and Nintendo Switch Sports. I feel what made this one underwhelming is that we didn't see anything new from for the upcoming major titles like Breath of the Wild 2 or Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope, or even anything new from the Mario movie, which we'll probably learn in a few months. Yeah, probably. Let's see. This direct was fine in my opinion. Mario Kart 8 DLC is disappointing to me because I got tired of playing that game. Kirby looks interesting. Looking forward to Mario Strikers. But the big one for me is Klonoa Fantasy Revere series. And a recently fan of the series with Klonoa 2 being one of my all-time favorite games. That one looks phenomenal. I'm going to support it after over a decade of hiatus since the Wii remake of the first game back of 2008. I only have one advice. Please support Klonoa. All right. Well, I haven't paid attention to Nintendo Direct. The games you mentioned so far sounds interesting. Bringing back Wii Sports sounds cool, and I used to play the game when I used to own the Wii console. For Mario Strikers, that sounded like it was going to be good, so I'll keep an eye out for that one. For the Kirby game, I don't know about that one as I never played any Kirby games before, and I'm a bit iffy on it. My God, you must play Kirby. Overall, I look okay. It looked okay for how it is. Let's see. Lightning round, go. Mario Strikers. I love Strikers Charge, so I'm hyped up as hell. Kirby, all the memes. Klonoa, it's great to see him back for so long. Mario Kart 8 DLC. You can't just tease your fans like that, Nintendo. Xenoblade 3, this seems quite interesting, plus there's no controversial character designs this time. Nintendo Switch Sports, a Nintendo Sports game without Mii's? What dimension am I in? Actually, there will be some Mii's. There will be. Metroid Dread Rookie Mode. Don't you mean Game Journalist Mode? Oh!
Oh my God, snap.
Going savage on the chats here. Let's see. What other comments would there be? Here we go. So my main expectations from the Nintendo Direct were Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp. Oh, that's true. There is that. Mario Strikers Battle League, Chrono Cross Radical Dreamers, Klonoa 1+2, Kirby in the Forgotten World, Taiko no Tatsujin with drums, the Cuphead DLC, and Mario Kart 8 48 classic tracks. Also, I might get a few Xenoblade Chronicles wallpapers since that's the only thing that jaw-dropped me in the last trailer. All right, and I think I'll read one more comment before we go. Don't have much to say about this game, but I do have a few jokes about Kirby's new mouthful mode. It reminds me of the deleted scene in Who Framed Roger Rabbit where Eddie gets a pig head, which kind of looks like it was eating him. I wonder how many characters tried to scrub Kirby off their heads, just in case they weren't fully devoured. Also, I haven't seen anyone swallow a car since Weird Al's CNR with Charles Nelson Riley swallowing a Volkswagen whole. Does anyone else want a Kirby mouth hat? Oh, I'm sure there's already a whole bunch of them.
They're out there. Just gotta find them.
Absolutely.
They'll find you. Don't worry.
Yeah. Don't look for Kirby. Kirby will find you.
Right.
And with that said, that should do it for this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. So, Christian, thank you so much for joining me on this. And if people want to go and follow you, where can they go and find you?
Yeah, like if you want to find me on some social media, I'm really bad with social media, but I am on Instagram at christian.monster. It's real easy. You can find me, and I'm really approachable. Do that. I did also just launch video essays. Like if you may know me from Double Toasted, I did that for 3 years, and now I just kind of went off and did my own thing. We're really small. I would love all the support you can give me. That's just called A Little Fire Burning. It's real simple. There's a skeleton on it. I'm really proud of it. I want to work really hard and get people to see things the way I see things. So if you feel so inclined, please go over there and press the little subscribe button. It really helps me out.
All right, awesome. And yeah, I've seen some of your videos, honestly, and they are very well researched. They are very good, and I highly recommend that you guys go and check them out. So with that said, Christian, thank you so much for joining me on this, and thank you all for joining us on this adventure. Hopefully next week we will see more fun news to go and talk about, and maybe a little bit less lag too. I know that's a little bit of a problem with this one, but again, it's just my computer really working hard and trying to do the best it can. I mean, I'm working with an iMac here. It's not necessarily built for streaming and stuff like that. So with all that said, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for listening. And until next time, see you later, dudes. All right, and that's a goodbye.
And